Chapter 74. Drunken Goose Pavilion. Luo Laozi invited a group of Dongli Kingdom's royal relatives and heads of noble families to drink here to celebrate Luo Qingtong's safe return. Everyone knew about the marriage between Luo Qingtong and the fifth prince of Tianyu Kingdom. They thought the marriage would be cancelled because of Luo Qingtong's accident. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was so lucky to come back alive. At this time, they had to show respect to Luo Laozi. They all came at the invitation. Luo Laozi booked the best private room in Drunken Goose Pavilion. Because it was a private banquet, not many people were invited. But everyone was an important figure in Dongli Kingdom. At this time, someone came to report what happened at the city gate. Luo Laozi was furious. When the banquet was in silence, the door of the outer room was opened from the outside. There was a huge screen between where Old Master Luo and the others were having their banquet, and the private room outside was divided into the inner and outer rooms. When the people inside didn't speak, the people outside didn't know there was someone inside. Just as everyone was wondering who had come in, they suddenly heard an exasperated female voice from outside. "Seventh Princess. Didn't I tell you before? I'll take care of everything. Why did you suddenly intervene? What's going on?" The female corpse at the city gate. "Was it you who did it? How do you want me to clean up the mess?" Luo Xinning was furious. She pushed the door open and saw a girl sitting beside the screen. She immediately started to make trouble. Luo Qingtong sat beside the screen in the outer room. Her head was slightly lowered, blocking most of her face. Hearing Luo Xinning's voice, she smiled. The fish took the bait. "Seventh Princess? The female corpse at the city gate?" The people in the banquet were about to scold the person who came in when they heard the news. They paused. They glanced at Luo Laozi secretly and looked at each other. They didn't know what was going on. At this moment, a low female voice suddenly came from outside. "What did you do?" "Luo Xinning, I don't know." Hearing the voice, everyone was shocked. There was someone outside? However, they soon realized what was going on. It was none other than Luo Qingtong. Just now, someone came to report what happened at the Luo family. Luo Qingtong was depressed and embarrassed to stay in the banquet. She said she wanted to calm down outside. Was that her voice? Was she trying to trick Luo Xinning? Thinking of this, everyone's eyes lit up. Something was going on. Everyone's interest was completely aroused. There was a moment of silence at the banquet. They all wanted to see what kind of big news the Luo family was going to reveal. But they didn't expect Luo Xinning's words. "You don't know anything? Huh. You and Xue, are you going to burn the bridge after crossing it?" Luo Xinning's words. Because of what had happened before, she did not notice that there was something wrong with the voice of the person opposite her. And Luo Qingtong's, "She." Hearing that the other party seemed to want to push everything to her and ignore it, Luo Xinning immediately lost her rationality. "You really don't know what I did. I helped you lure Luo Qingtong to the 9 Magi Mountain to break through. I crippled her cultivation and blinded her eyes with poison. I even threw her to a group of men." Chapter 75. Bang! Before Luo Xinning could finish her sentence, the screen in front of her was blown away. Grandfather Luo was like an angry lion. He stood behind the screen with bloodshot eyes and glared at her. Behind him was a group of aristocratic families and nobles who were already dumbfounded. Everyone was completely shocked by the shocking news that Luo Xinning had revealed. Holy shit! What did they just hear? The imperial family of Tianyu teamed up with the concubine's daughter of the second branch of the Luo family to kill Miss Luo? And it was such a vicious scheme? The crowd couldn't believe their ears. But looking at Luo Xinning's shocked expression, they knew that what they heard was true. While everyone was still in shock, Luo Xinning was also shocked by the group of people who appeared behind the screen. These people were all important figures in the Eastern Fence country, and they were all gathered here. And Grandfather Luo was also among them. How could this be? How could they appear in the private room that she and Princess Qi agreed on? Luo Xinning was in disbelief. Just then, she heard Luo Qingtong's voice. "Sister." "Luo Xinning, you are really my good sister." Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at Luo Xinning in disbelief. The most unbelievable part was yet to come. She would take back what they owed the original owner of the body. Luo Qingtong. Luo Xinning also saw that the person sitting behind the screen was none other than Luo Qingtong. She went to the wrong place and mistook Luo Qingtong for Princess Qi. But the slip of paper tied to the token clearly said that it was here. Luo Xinning's mind was in a mess. Before she could figure it out, Grandfather Luo stepped out from behind the screen and kicked her hard. Evil creature. Luo Qingtong didn't talk about how she was persecuted in detail. Only today did old Master Luo know how vicious her methods were. No wonder Qingtong's temperament changed so much. After experiencing all this, how could her temperament not change? Master Luo was so angry that he kicked Luo Xinning from the private room on the second floor to the hall below with the power of a peak martial marquis. Bang! Luo Xinning fell to the ground and rolled twice. She couldn't get up for a long time. Grandpa! She looked at old Master Luo, who rushed out of the second floor in anger, and her mind went blank. Until now, she still didn't know how things had turned out this way. She came out after receiving the 7th Princess Secret Guard token. How did she end up in old Master Luo's banquet? At this moment, she saw Luo Qingtong. The latter was dressed in green and looked like a fairy. She was devastatingly beautiful. That simple green robe made her feel like a fairy in the forest. The girl walked out from behind old Luo and looked at Luo Xinning calmly. "You've failed. Come quickly." Luo Xinning saw her lips move slightly and said silently. These were clearly the words she had seen on the note. It was her. All of this was done by Luo Qingtong. She was the one who set the trap for her. She said that she was in cahoots with the 7th princess? Luo Xianning regained her senses and was instantly enraged. She spat out a mouthful of blood. She had treated Luo Qingtong like a fool for more than 10 years. She did not expect that she would fall into her trap. How could she accept this? Luo Xinning fainted in an instant. What a disgrace! Old Master Luo was still angry. He waved his hand and ordered people to carry Luo Xinning back. He raised his head and looked at the people who had yet to recover from their shock. He shouted angrily, "Everyone has seen what happened today. We can't afford to marry into the Tianyu royal family. We will cancel the engagement immediately. When the time comes, please be my witness." As he spoke, he cupped his fists and left with his men. Chapter 76. The Luo Manor wants to break off the engagement with the Tianyu Empire's royal family. And the target was the 5th prince, who was favored by the heavens. In an instant, this rumor spread throughout Windgaze City and even to distant cities. Among them, there were those who didn't know the truth. But after learning the ins and outs of the matter, they all supported Grandfather Luo's actions. They all said that he was a man of courage and wouldn't mistreat his granddaughter for the sake of the Tianyu Empire's royal family. Others said that Grandfather Luo was a fool. A son-in-law like the 5th prince couldn't be found even with a lantern. But Grandfather Luo actually pushed it out. Someone immediately retorted. This Tianyu Empire's royal family is so vicious to Luo Qingtong. Who knows if she'll live long enough to marry him? It's better to break off the engagement as soon as possible. That way, they won't lose a beautiful granddaughter. Regardless of the rumors, Grandfather Luo left Eastern Fence Country for the Tianyu Empire to break off the engagement. He received the personal testimonies from the various patriarchs and nobles. Then, he immediately set off without any delay. After returning to the Luo Manor, Luo Qingtong locked herself in Grandfather Luo's secret room and flipped through all the soul technique manuals inside. She was very clear about the Luo Manor situation. Don't think that the Marquis Manor is second only to one person in Eastern Fence Country. But that's because of the engagement between Luo Qingtong and Yuan Mo. Once the two families break off the engagement, there will be countless people vying to replace the Luo Manor. Even the Eastern Fence Country's royal family's attitude towards the Luo Manor will change. Grandfather Luo cherished his granddaughter, so he never mentioned these matters in front of her. Not to mention the impact of the annulment on the Luo Manor. Grandfather Luo probably wanted her to take the blame. But how could Luo Qingtong pretend she didn't know? She was the one who wanted to break off the engagement, so naturally she should bear the responsibility. Luo Qingtong lightly tapped the desk and placed the last soul technique manual back on the shelf. Luo Qingtong's eye technique never forgets. As long as she sees it once, she can completely remember it in her mind. The next time he wanted to look at it again, all he had to do was recall it a little. In just a few days' time, Luo Qingtong had already read through almost all of the soul technique manuals in this secret room. He also had a certain understanding of soul masters. A soul master was a powerhouse who was born with a soul imprint. Legend had it that the soul had a spirit. Since the birth of a human, the soul already possessed spirituality. It was just that this kind of spirituality was hidden in the human soul and was extremely difficult to discover and activate. And the soul seal was the symbol of the soul having spirituality. A person with a soul imprint had the talent to become a soul master. Different soul seals would lead to different cultivation directions for soul masters. Some people had a fire spirit seal, so their innate soul was highly compatible with fire. When they cultivated fire attribute cultivation techniques, they would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Once a person with a soul seal successfully activated it and cultivated it, their strength would be much stronger than a martial artist's. After all, a martial artist had to advance to the innate realm, which was the martial king realm, to be able to cultivate a substantial amount of energy. But once a soul master successfully cultivated it, he would be able to display the power of the attribute. This was something that a martial artist couldn't compare with. Luo Qingtong spent 3 days to feel a little inside her body and touched the key to becoming a soul master. Luo Qingtong had a pupil soul seal, which could be considered a special kind of soul seal. Luo Qingtong didn't know how powerful this soul seal was. Chapter 77. At this time, Luo Qingtong realized the benefits of the academy. There were many things that even if one had an inheritance, one might not know. One still had to go to the academy to receive systematic teaching. After all, only a place like the academy could accept hundreds of rivers into the sea and teach a lot of unknown knowledge. It seemed that the trip to Tianyu Branch Academy was very necessary. As Luo Qingtong thought, she closed her eyes and concentrated on feeling the circulation of the soul power in her body. Boom! 7 days later, a muffled sound suddenly came from the secret room she was in. Luo Qingtong opened her eyes. With a whoosh, a blood-colored sword light seemed to flash across her empty eyes. Illusory sword eyes. This sword light seemed to have substance as it flitted across Luo Qingtong's eyes. But only Luo Qingtong knew that this sword light could invade the opponent's consciousness and kill them under the illusory sword. This was probably the legendary eyes can kill? She had just entered the entry level of a soul master, but she actually had such great power. Truly amazing. One had to know that only martial kings could release their qi and form a substantial astral wind that could kill people invisibly. Luo Qingtong was only a 3-star soul master. According to the classification of soul masters, she was still in the entry level. The Luo family's use of eye techniques was not as good as hers, but the development of this soul technique cultivation method made Luo Qingtong quite curious. Feeling her current strength, she was already a 3-star soul master. Luo Qingtong smiled. She could directly break through to soul master on her first cultivation, which made her quite surprised. But thinking of her physique that had been improved by the 2 treasures of the Immortal Slayer Palace, plus her second life, it was understandable that her soul power was stronger and her cultivation speed was faster. Moreover, her own ability was eye techniques. The soul technique cultivation of eye techniques was really as simple as eating and drinking to her. She did not have the unfamiliar and difficult feeling of others who had just started. Okay, we can go out now. Luo Qingtong was preparing to leave the Luo family. How could she not improve her strength? This time, she was preparing to find the medicinal herbs to treat her eyes. Although she had an eye technique, it was inconvenient for her to be blind. What's more, the Luo clan's spirit techniques were completely different in terms of power compared to when they were blind. Currently, it was only a superficial cultivation method. Luo Qingtong's cultivation was still not obvious. However, the further back you looked, the higher the requirements for your eyes. With Luo Qingtong's innate blood-red pupils, once recovered, she would be able to unleash the full power of the Luo family's soul techniques. Under such circumstances, she naturally had to treat her eyes as soon as possible. Just as she was about to leave the secret room, Luo Qingtong suddenly remembered something. She immersed her mind into her body and looked at the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Little Pig was still howling from the heat. Luo Qingtong ignored it and looked at the little divine connecting beast on the other side. The latter was sent into the 9-story exquisite pagoda to be nurtured after the contract was formed. The demon-subduing pagoda only had a punishment function for Little Pig. It moved according to Luo Qingtong's will. The aura inside was extremely beneficial to demonic beasts. The little divine connecting beast had only been nurtured inside for a few days, but its entire body had changed greatly. Luo Qingtong looked at the white fur that grew on its body. It looked like a fox dog. A fluffy long tail curled up behind its back, gently sweeping back and forth. It was very soft and cute. Seeing Luo Qingtong's spirit enter, the little beastie opened its eyes and wriggled towards her. Luo Qingtong smiled and stroked its fur, saying, "I'll call you Snowball from now on." Snowball's existence completely made up for the unhappiness between Luo Qingtong and Little Pig. This was what a contracted beast should look like. Moreover, it would be very powerful after growing up. Unlike that stupid pig, who only knew how to cause trouble for her. The little divine connecting beast was still young, so Luo Qingtong did not bring it out. Instead, she continued to nurture it in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Luo Qingtong's figure appeared in the study room. Immediately, a guard outside the door reported respectfully. Chapter 78. Missing? Luo Qingtong smiled. "When did this happen?" she asked indifferently, without a trace of surprise on her face. "It was when the Marquis left Drunken Swan House and you entered the secret chamber." The guard knelt in front of Luo Qingtong and reported respectfully. They were Old Master Luo's personal guards. They were extremely loyal and only obeyed Old Master Luo's orders. Of course, Luo Qingtong was also included. "Your subordinates are incompetent. The third miss was kidnapped on her way here. We searched the entire Windgaze city but couldn't find any trace of the third miss. Please punish us." The Iron Guard's face was full of guilt. Luo Xianning was kidnapped from his hands. He couldn't fulfill the Marquis and Mrs. orders. He felt very uneasy. These days, he had been guarding outside the study, waiting for Luo Qingtong to come out so he could report to her immediately. "It's fine. It's not your fault. There are some people you can't stop." Luo Qingtong naturally knew what was going on. Tianyu's imperial family acted quickly. They took her away as soon as they got the news. Her efforts in getting people to carry Luo Xianning, who had fainted and vomited blood, back to her residence from Drunken Swan Building with great fanfare, were not in vain. She had spread the news to the whole city. Now it seemed that they really did clean up Yuan Shue's mess. Luo Qingtong sneered. This also proved that there were people from Tianyu's imperial family secretly in Windgaze City. But they knew that Yuan Shue wanted to deal with the original Luo Xianning. They also knew that Luo Xianning was bribed and ordered by Yuan Shue, but they didn't stop it. They might even have pushed the matter forward. If not for this, how could Luo Laozi not get any news in the Marquis Mansion's power in the eastern border country, and allow the host to be completely schemed against? In the end, they didn't even find the body. Very good. Luo Qingtong's smile was unbridled and enchanting. She had more or less figured out everything she wanted to know. Then, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Tianyu's imperial family. Let's play. None of them, including Luo Xinning, could escape. Her blinded eyes must be filled with blood. Only then was it over. "All right, you don't have to worry about this." Luo Qingtong's voice was indifferent. "The authority in the manor will be taken over by you all. I'm going out for a while. When Grandpa comes back, tell him not to worry. I'll be back soon. Also, if anyone dares to cause trouble in the Luo clan while I'm away, no matter who they are, kill them without mercy." Her words were filled with killing intent. The engagement between the Luo family and the Yuan family was about to be cancelled. It was inevitable that someone would take the opportunity to cause trouble. Especially those people from the other branches of the Luo clan. None of them were easy to deal with. For the sake of Grandfather Luo, Luo Qingtong wouldn't do anything to them. However, if anyone dared to join forces with outsiders to cause trouble in the Luo family, then don't blame her for being impolite. At that time, no matter who it was, they would all die. Luo Qingtong wouldn't let anything happen to the Luo family in her hands. Yes. The Iron Guards accepted the order in unison. Luo Qingtong nodded and walked out of the Luo family's gate. She walked around in a circle and quickly set up a highly concealed offensive and defensive formation around them. It was fine if no one caused trouble in the Luo family. But if anyone dared to cause trouble, they would die miserably. This was the trump card that Luo Qingtong set up for the Luo family to guard against the imperial family of Tianyu. Who knew if they would do something harmful to the Luo family after the engagement was cancelled? Luo Qingtong had to arrange everything properly before she could leave with peace of mind. Chapter 79. Half a month later, in the Blackfield sub-city to the north of Eastern Fence Nation, Luo Qingtong wore a black robe and a cloak that covered most of her face, only revealing a devilish demon mask. She appeared on the outskirts of this city of darkness. This is the Blackfield sub-city? The Blackfield was an extremely special existence within the True Spill continent. It existed in every major country, but it was also independent of them. Every country, whether it was a high-class country, a low-class country, or even a super country like the Tianyu Empire, had its own sub-city. Within the Blackfield, you could do anything you wanted. You could buy anything you wanted. You could even assassinate anyone you wanted. As long as it was a transaction, as long as you could pay the price, there was nothing that the Blackfield didn't dare to do. This was a land of darkness. It was also called the Dark Sanctuary by the cultivators of the True Spill continent. Even the 4 holy dynasties had no way to deal with it. No one knew who the mastermind behind the Blackfield was. They only knew that his title was Dark, and that he called himself Dark Lord. Within the Blackfield, he was the sole ruler and law. To be able to make the various holy dynasties helpless, and even allow such a completely independent city to appear within their own territory, this Dark Lord's strength was likely to reach the heavens and earth. And now, Luo Qingtong wanted to enter this Blackfield sub-city located within the Eastern Fence Nation. She wanted to find the antidote materials that she needed. After returning from the 9 Magus Mountains without any success, she knew that if she wanted to find the antidote material she needed, she could only do so in a place like the Blackfield that didn't fear the various holy dynasties and had tentacles that covered the entire continent. But the Blackfield wasn't so easy to enter. Shwa! Luo Qingtong's figure flew up, her sleeves fluttering in the wind. She was like a vigorous hawk as she flew towards the massive main city in front of her. Walala! Outside the Blackfield sub-city, a massive moat appeared in Luo Qingtong's line of sight. This moat was filled with white bones. Some of the cultivators' corpses hadn't been completely corroded yet. They floated along with the waves of the moat. Countless weapons and treasures floated in the moat, but no one dared to go down and pick them up. This moat was also known as the Yellow Spring Path. As long as one fell into it, even a Martial King-level powerhouse would be corroded in a second, turning into one of the skeletons. It was said that the Blackfield sub-city had countless cities. The power of the moat was closely related to the country it. This was a Black Domain city of the Eastern Fence Nation. The moat surrounding the city was only strong enough to corrode Martial Kings. This showed how terrifying Blackfield's strength was. In order to enter the Blackfield, one must have the strength to pass through the Yellow Springs Path. At this moment, there were only bare chains on the Yellow Springs Path. There was nothing on the chain that one could lean on. When the wind blew, the chains swung violently and clanged against each other from time to time. When Luo Qingtong reached the shore, she heard a series of miserable screams. Someone was unable to stabilize himself and fell into the Yellow Spring. In an instant, he was submerged by the corrosive river water. To pass through the Yellow Springs Path, one had to rely on strength, luck, and vision. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She swept a glance at Huang Quandao and was about to get up. Chapter 80. Rumble. A huge gust of wind swept over Luo Qingtong's head from behind. At the same time, a series of exclamations followed. A flying ship. Wah! It's so big. I wonder what grade of magic treasure it is. It's so powerful. Exclamations entered her ears. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked up at the sky. She saw a huge gorgeous spirit ship sweeping over her head. As the spirit ship flew, it swept up huge waves and each gust of wind had a great impact. The people waiting on the shore to cross the Yellow Spring Path were all pushed away by the huge spirit ship's waves. Only Luo Qingtong stood motionless on the spot. Her figure swayed slightly, and the gust of wind that rushed towards her was all neutralized by her. The spirit ship stirred up huge waves as it swept over the Yellow Spring Path and directly entered the Blackfield city ahead. When the spirit ship approached, the huge city in the darkness completely opened the city gates and welcomed it in. Sigh. It's so good to have a Blackfield token. An envious voice came from the side. That's right. Look at the grade of this spirit ship. It's at least an Earth-grade spiritual weapon. Even a martial Grand Emperor expert might not be able to have it. I wonder what kind of person is sitting in it. Sigh. It's so good to have power. Let's go. Let's also enter the Black Field and have a good adventure. It's said that the people in the Black Field don't care about your background. As long as you have the corresponding power, they will not hesitate to take you in. Hearing the conversation around her, Luo Qingtong realized that there was such a thing as a Black Field token in the Black Field City. With a Black Field token, one could directly enter the Black Field City without going through the Yellow Spring Path outside. No wonder the people in the spirit ship didn't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. In that case, this Black Field token was really a good thing. With it, it wouldn't be so troublesome to enter and exit the Black Field in the future. That spirit boat was not bad either. He wondered where he had bought it. Luo Qingtong knew that this kind of spirit boat was specially used to transport troops from various countries. At the same time, it was also the exclusive vehicle for the nobles and experts of various countries. It looked really cool. In Luo Qingtong's previous life, everything was the best in the 24th century. She didn't even know how many luxurious cars she owned. At this moment, looking at the spirit boat, her heart itched again. If there's a chance, I'll get one. This way, it would be much more convenient to travel. However, this kind of aerial spirit boat was generally forbidden in the military. If one wanted to own it, strength alone was not enough. They also needed to have a certain status. Otherwise, the various countries will not allow you to pass through. In fact, I won't even let you buy it. He wondered if the Black Field medallion had such a privilege. If there was, Luo Qingtong would definitely get her hands on one. Whoosh! Her figure swept forward. After the spirit boat passed through, she directly rushed towards the moat in front of her. With a few leaps, under the guidance of her eyes, she easily passed through the chains that even Martial King experts had to be on guard. She was not affected by the wind and waves of the river after the spirit boat passed through. Looking at her figure, waves of exclamations sounded behind her again. Isn't this black-robed person too powerful? She passed through the Yellow Spring Path so easily? When did the Yellow Spring Path outside the Black Field City become so easy to pass through? Could it be the benefit of passing through the spirit boat? Some people thought so and also rushed up. However, halfway through, they screamed and fell down. At this moment, they finally understood that it wasn't that the Yellow Spring Path had become easy to pass, but that Luo Qingtong was too powerful. Looking at Luo Qingtong's movements, no one would have thought that she was only a martial master. Furthermore, she had just broken through. Chapter 81. Senior Brother, Teacher is really amazing. This spirit boat really travels thousands of miles in a day. We came from the Lifeng country in the west and arrived at the Black Field sub-city of the Eastern Fence country in just a few hours. And we don't need to go through the Yellow Spring Path. Those people from the Black Field even saluted us. Haha. No matter which Black Field city we went to, the people there were very arrogant. This Black Field token is really useful. Senior Brother, Teacher is really good to you. A group of people got off the spirit boat and walked into the city while talking and laughing, looking very excited. This group of people were the new students of the Sacred Academy who came out with Yu Wenma to do things. Hearing their praise and envy, Yu Wenma felt good in his heart, but on the surface he smiled faintly. When all of you junior brothers become stronger, Teacher will also think highly of you. Yu Wenma's words were very appropriate, and everyone felt very comfortable in their hearts. They smiled and complimented each other. By then, Senior Brother will definitely be even more powerful. Not everyone can be accepted as Teacher's last disciple after entering the Sacred Academy. Yes, we are definitely not as good as Senior Brother. But speaking of which, this Black Field token is really rare. I heard that Teacher only coincidentally helped the people of the Black Field to get this lowest level Black Field token of the Black Field by chance. If it's a higher level silver or gold Black Field token, you will have even greater authority in the Black Field City. Yes. I heard that if it's a platinum Black Field token, you can freely mobilize the power of any Black Field city other than the Black Field main city. Not only that, you can go to any Black Field city in the future and be given a grand welcome. Even the city lord will have to personally welcome you. As the group was talking, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling sound outside. Then, above the entire Black Field city, the forbidden sky barrier opened and the main city flew up. At the same time, The aura of countless powerhouses flew up from every corner of the Blackfield city. Among them, there were both martial artists and soul masters. What was different about them was that they were all wearing clothes that only Blackfield residents would wear, and their bodies were decorated with the Blackfield's totem. The aura of the person at the front was completely different from the others. Astonishingly, it was much higher. This is Blackfield's Castellan? Countless people were alarmed by this commotion. When they looked up and saw this scene in the sky, their eyes instantly widened. It was actually the Blackfield city lord himself. Move out of the city. Could it be that the owner of the legendary platinum token had come to visit? No, that's not right. Someone pointed at the slowly opening gates around the main city in shock. Open all 9 gates. It was Ming Zun. The supreme of the Blackfield is here. While everyone was still in shock, an extremely beautiful spirit boat suddenly appeared in the sky. Previously, Yu Wenma and the others had also arrived on a spirit boat, causing everyone to exclaim in surprise. However, at this moment, even the most blind person had to admit that compared to this spirit boat, Yu Wenma and the other spirit boat was a pile of scrap metal. It was a good thing that they had already parked their spirit boats. Otherwise, they would have been completely crushed by this gorgeous spirit boat that was both elegant and murderous, sharp and magnificent. As that spirit boat appeared, the entire Blackfield subcity was in an uproar. Chapter 82. In the spiritual boat, Bei Qing's face twitched when he felt the burning gaze from below almost penetrating the boat and stripping them naked. Master, I didn't do it on purpose. He looked at the man sitting on the throne in the middle of the spiritual boat with a sad face. He didn't know how he had touched the light switch. Yi Qianxian looked at him coldly. Then, he flicked his sleeves and flew out of the flying boat. Go to the Heavenly Punishment Court to receive your punishment when you return. Yes, Master. Master. Bei Qing hurriedly responded and followed him. A group of people flew out of the flying boat. As for the huge, luxurious flying boat, it also disappeared in an instant. Sumeru Space. That flying boat actually carried the legendary Sumeru Space. No wonder he is Ming Zun. What a big deal. It is said that only the royal family of the Sacred Dynasty has such a treasure inheritance with Sumeru Space. Ming Zun has it too. And it is a spiritual flying boat. Ming Zun is probably the only person in the world who has such a peerless flying boat with Sumeru Space. Luo Qingtong heard the exclamations around her and looked up at the sky. Unfortunately, Ming Zun's figure flashed in the air and disappeared without a trace. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. They could only see a few rays of light. They couldn't even see what the person on the flying boat looked like, whether he was round or flat. Luo Qingtong opened her eyes and could only see 3 figures. A silver-clothed figure with black hair flashed in front of her. In an instant, it disappeared from her field of vision. The other 2 figures, one in green and one in blue, were on his left and right. They should be Ming Zun's guards. The people in this world were really perverted. Luo Qingtong looked on gloomily as they disappeared from her sight. She tried her best to see the face of Ming Zun, but just like the man from Nine Magi Mountain, she could only see a blurry silhouette. Were all powerful people like this? Did they like to pretend to be mysterious? It was fine if they were ugly, but the man from Nine Magi Mountain was so handsome, but he wanted to hide it. Beauty should be shown in front of people to benefit society. Just as Luo Qingtong was thinking about this, she suddenly felt a sharp gaze coming from the sky. It was in the direction where Underworld Zun had disappeared. Her heart suddenly tightened, and she quickly lowered her head. That gaze swept across her surroundings and then retracted in an instant. Yi Qianxian was full of doubts. He had clearly felt that someone was spying on him, but when he looked carefully, there was nothing. Was it his imagination? But why did it feel so similar to that woman? Could it be that she was also in this Blackfield sub-city? If that was the case, then it wouldn't have been a waste of time for him to come here personally. Shua! The figures of Yi Qianxian and the others completely disappeared from the sky. The experts in the Blackfield sub-city also descended from the sky. Luo Qingtong patted her chest. Oh my god, I was almost discovered. Other than that man from Nine Magi Mountain, this was the second person that Luo Qingtong couldn't see through. Should she say that he was indeed worthy of being called the Supreme of the Blackfield? That man from Nine Magi Mountain was the strongest man that Luo Qingtong had ever seen. More than half of his meridians were broken, but he was still able to beat the adult divine connecting beast to the point that it couldn't even retaliate. This Ming Zun was actually on par with him. No wonder the people from the 4 great sacred dynasties were helpless against him, and he was able to establish such a huge dark force like the Black Field. Luo Qingtong patted her chest as she continued to walk into the city. In the Black Field sub-city headquarters, in the city lord's residence, Yi Chenxian landed and looked at the city lord standing respectfully at the side. Chapter 83. My lord, I've searched through hundreds of high-class countries and thousands of middle-class countries around Dongli country, but I didn't find the woman you're talking about, the governor of the Black Field sub-city hurriedly replied when he heard Yi Chenxian's question. You didn't find her? Yi Chenxian narrowed his eyes. The hazy mist covering his face instantly dispersed, revealing a face wrapped in a dark golden mask. The mask covered most of his face, leaving only a little bit of his smooth chin and a pair of thin lips. Under the mask, Yi Chenxian's eyes turned cold. You've checked everything? My lord, we've checked everything. What about the Tianyu Empire? You didn't find her either? The Tianyu Empire hasn't sent any news yet, but according to their feedback, they shouldn't have found her either. Then let's investigate further. Expand the scope. I must find her. Yi Chenxian's voice was cold. He had personally come to this place for Luo Qingtong. He didn't expect that he couldn't find that woman even with the Blackfield's intelligence network. Who exactly was she? Also, filter through all the information of those who entered Dongli country before and after the mutation on the 9 Magi Mountain. He didn't believe that he couldn't find that woman. Yes. The governor of the Blackfield subcity looked bitter. No matter how low-class Dongli country was, it was still a country. There were more than tens of thousands of people entering and exiting the country every day. Not to mention how many people entered and exited the 9 Magi Mountain before and after the mutation. He thought about how much work he had to do just to find a woman whose name and appearance he didn't even know. He only knew that she was blind but could see. Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a blacksmith or a spiritual array master. The governor of the Blackfield sub-city felt that this wasn't very reliable. My lord, didn't you notice that there were many contradictions in this information? How could someone be blind and still be able to see? Her cultivation level was low but she was very strong. She might even be a spiritual array master. The city lord of the Blackfield city went out with a bitter face. When Bei Qing and Feng Yu saw this, they looked at Yi Chenxian and asked, Master, you haven't found him yet? No. Yi Chenxian frowned. With that woman's ability, he thought it would be easy to find her. She didn't expect that there was no news of her in the high-ranking countries. Could it be that he was wrong? She might not be from the Empire of Qin? Were they from other sacred dynasties? Let's look for her again. The woman you mentioned is so weak. She might have been buried in a high-class country or above. Or perhaps, it was deliberately hidden by someone. Master, didn't you say that someone poisoned her with poison? That was not a poison that an ordinary person could get their hands on. Her news might have been intentionally covered up by someone. Feng Yu analyzed. Yes. Master, let's keep looking. We will definitely find her. But Master, do you really feel that your meridians are getting better? Bei Qing asked. She couldn't believe it. They were also very worried about their master's internal injuries. However, they couldn't do anything about it since they were born with it. All these years, they had been trying their best to find a way to cure their master's injuries. It was the same when their master went to the 9 Magi Mountain alone in Dongli country. However, they did not expect that the information they had painstakingly gathered was completely useless. A young girl that their master had met by chance had actually alleviated the injuries in his body. Chapter 84. It's indeed better, although it's not obvious. But it's definitely better. Yi Qianren was sitting on the main seat in the hall. She raised her hand and rubbed the armrest. Suddenly, she released the aura she had been restraining. Boom! Feng Yu and Bei Qing were forced to take a few steps back by the aura released by Yi Chenxian. This! The two of them were shocked. Feng Yu's eyes lit up and she exclaimed, Master! The aura you're releasing. It's much stronger than before, right? Am I right? Yi Qianren narrowed her eyes at them. After my main meridians were repaired, my body's ability to withstand power has increased. If it was before, my meridians would have been broken by now. Yi Qianxian's voice was calm as he looked into the distance. Not only that, my meridians haven't been injured for the past half a month. Although I don't know how long they can last, there's no doubt that they're longer than before. Master, don't worry. We'll definitely find her. Even if we have to kidnap her, we'll kidnap her and bring her to you. Bei Qing couldn't hold herself back anymore. It's not just a little bit better. It's much better than before. Others might not know, but they, who served their master, knew that the interval between their master's meridians breaking was getting shorter and shorter. His meridian's ability to withstand power was also getting weaker and weaker. Their master hadn't used his full strength in a long time. They were more anxious than anyone else as they watched their master's body getting weaker and weaker day by day. Now that there was someone who could repair their master's meridians and improve his condition, they had to find this person even if they had to dig 3 feet into the ground. Yi Qianxian replied in a low voice. Then, he thought of Luo Qingtong's crafty and evil character and paused for a moment. Then he ordered, "This woman is as cunning as a fox. You may not be able to deal with her. Once you find her, just inform me." Yi Qianxian felt uncomfortable when he thought of how Luo Qingtong might deal with Bei Qing and Feng Yu the same way she dealt with him. Pass down this order. After finding her, no one is allowed to touch her. That woman, I will personally capture her. Yes. Although they didn't think that Luo Qingtong, a mere martial mentor, could pose any threat to them. Even if she was 100 times stronger, she might not be a match for them. However, Bei Qing and Feng Yu naturally complied with their master's order. Thinking about it, it was indeed more convenient for the master to make a move. What if the subordinates were careless and killed someone? Bei Qing thought carelessly. Feng Yu, on the other hand, seemed to have understood something as he looked at his master with a subtle gaze. He thought of the bite mark on his master's lips. Master, he couldn't be tempted, right? Just like Bei Qing, Feng Yu didn't believe that someone could escape from her master's clutches again and again and still dare to do such a disgraceful thing. It couldn't be that master, he deliberately condoned it, right? The more she thought about it, the more complicated her mood became. He didn't know that his master had such an interest. Yi Qianxian didn't know what his subordinates were thinking at all. He got another secret prescription this time, but he didn't know whether it was useful for his injury. Fortunately, his meridians were stronger now, so he could give it a try. By the way, he was waiting for news from the branch city of the Tianyu Empire. Chapter 85. This auction house was the most bustling and lively place in the Black Field. The moment Luo Qingtong entered, she was eagerly received. "Hello, guest. May I know what you need?" The auction house's staff warmly welcomed her. In the spacious hall, there were over 100 staff like this. "I want to sell medicine." Luo Qingtong's voice had undergone a special voice change. Her low and hoarse voice revealed a unique vicissitudes of life. Her exposed hands had also been specially modified. On her loose skin, the veins were exposed, revealing a kind of twilight old age. Luo Qingtong did not intend to reveal her identity when she came to the Black Field this time. Therefore, she purposely created a mysterious old man. In this way, others would not doubt her ability and the Mingzun behind the scenes would not be able to find out her true identity. Luo Qingtong was fully aware of how coveted her eye technique was. She would not easily reveal her true identity in front of others. And that Mingzun's strength was so valiant and powerful. She had to guard against him. Sell medicine? When the staff heard this, he did not dare to be negligent. "I wonder what medicine old Mr. wants to sell. Is it medicinal herbs or medicinal liquid? Ask your manager to come over. You can't make the decision." Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. That faint voice, after being modified by her hoarse voice, instantly raised her image infinitely. Immediately, the waiter treated her as a hidden expert and invited her to a private room. "Old mister, please wait a moment. I will immediately ask the manager to come over." That staff said as he ran out like a wisp of smoke. When he was about to leave, he almost stumbled and fell. Medicinal liquid. This old man was here to sell medicinal liquid. Who knows, he might be a respected alchemist. Although he did not see the alchemist badge of the other party, but generally, this kind of alchemist was eccentric and arrogant. It was normal for him to not like to show his alchemist badge in front of others. Thinking of this, the worker ran even faster. After a while, a steward pushed open the door to Luo Qingtong's private room. "I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, sir." The steward's tone was very respectful and courteous. "May I know what kind of medicinal liquid you're selling?" "Rank Shenyuan heart fluid." Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. The medicinal liquid she was selling was extracted from the holy healing spring that Yi Chenxian had been soaking in. Although Lu Qingtong couldn't find a suitable substitute for most of the herbs, she still managed to refine the corresponding medicinal liquid according to the medicinal properties of a small portion of the herbs and her own concoction. Although the effect was definitely not as good as the man's healing liquid, it was enough for Luo Qingtong. She didn't know what the grade of this medicinal liquid was. Luo Qingtong didn't know much about this different world's alchemist profession. After all, the original owner didn't have these memories in her mind. She could only rely on herself to slowly explore. The effect of this medicinal liquid is on meridian injuries. As long as it's a meridian injury, no matter how serious it is, as long as it's taken, it will immediately heal. It can be used to counteract the backlash of using a forbidden technique. After taking it, it's equivalent to having an extra life. Even in a situation where the strength is similar, it can kill the enemy. Chapter 86. Black Origin Heart Medicinal Liquid. It was actually a medicinal liquid used to treat meridian injuries. And from the other party's words, this medicinal liquid's grade was not low. One had to know that medicinal liquids used to treat meridian injuries were very rare. Meridians were related to a cultivator's cultivation. Once the meridians were damaged, the cultivator's strength would be greatly reduced. What's more, the cultivator's realm would continuously drop, becoming a cripple. Especially when using forbidden techniques, although it could increase one's strength by 1-fold or even more than 10 times in a short period of time, the backlash after using it was extremely serious. An overly strong burst of power would tear the cultivator's meridians. How many people had used forbidden techniques in desperate situations, and their strength had been greatly reduced? And with Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid, what were they afraid of? This was not just a life. This was an excellent trump card. With it, cultivators could even challenge those of a higher cultivation level at will, without fear of any repercussions. This portion of medicinal liquid was simply too precious. The steward did not dare to make a decision and hurriedly reported the matter to the head steward. "Oh, a medicinal liquid specially used to treat meridian injuries?" When the head steward heard this, he immediately put down the matter at hand and hurried over. At the same time, there was also an earth stage alchemist from the black market auction house. These alchemists were the standard of the Black Field auction house. This was also the reason why people flocked to the Black Field like a flock of ducks. The status of an earth stage alchemist was very honorable. Even in the main cities of the 4 great sacred dynasties, they were the target of countless people's pursuit. But in the Black Field, every Black Field auction house had such an earth stage alchemist overseeing it. While identifying medicinal liquids, they also provided alchemy services for the people in the Black Field auction house. In the whole world, only the Black Field had such a big hand. Even the 4 great sacred dynasties could not compare. The earth stage alchemist from the Black Field auction house had a very arrogant expression. He didn't believe that a small and remote country like Eastern Fence Country would have such a powerful figure coming to sell medicinal liquid. Even if the other party's medicinal liquid really had the effect of healing meridian injuries, he was afraid that it was only a low-level human-level medicinal liquid. At most, it could only benefit low-level cultivators below the Martial King level. There was no need for him to do anything. However, according to the Black Field's rules, as long as there was an effective and precious liquid for sale, they had to sell it. That earth-tier alchemist was unable to disobey the Black Field's rules and could only come forward with a cold face and the chief steward. "You're the one who wants to sell the medicinal liquid? Hand it over." His face was filled with impatience. This earth-tier alchemist had just received an order from above to refine medicine for the High Lord. This was a rare opportunity to make a great leap forward, so he didn't want to bother with other miscellaneous matters. Towards Luo Qingtong, who interrupted her refining, she also didn't have the slightest good face. "Stop acting all mysterious." Looking at Luo Qingtong's attire, He raised his hand and took the liquid. With a sneer, he began to identify the liquid. However, as soon as he opened the bottle, his expression suddenly changed. This was an earth-tier medicinal liquid? A strong medicinal power instantly spread out in front of him. The earth-tier alchemist's hands trembled fiercely, and he almost dropped the bottle in his hands. He hurriedly grabbed it and carefully used his mental power to identify the medicinal power within. The more he identified it, the more his hands trembled. This was not an ordinary earth-tier medicinal liquid. It was a top-grade earth-tier medicinal liquid. No. It was a quasi-heaven-tier medicinal liquid. Heavens! Chapter 87. As an Earth-rank alchemist, Master Lu did not expect that there was actually someone who could achieve perfect separation when refining medicinal liquids. Inside this set of medicinal liquid, there was actually no impurities at all. This already completely exceeded his imagination. This set of medicinal liquid already surpassed the level of Earth-rank medicinal liquids, reaching the level of quasi-heaven rank. Although its essence was still an Earth-rank medicinal liquid, the medicinal strength and effects in reality completely surpassed this level. It was sufficient to compare with ordinary heaven-rank medicinal liquids. Such a medicinal liquid, even heavenly alchemists who were highly revered by the world and revered by them, these alchemists, might not be able to refine it too. This must be a transcendent-grade medicinal liquid that the alchemist himself could only possibly refine under a lucky coincidence. His spirit entering heaven and earth, entering a kind of profound realm. Bang! 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 Master Lu's hand held the porcelain bottle, his heart beating rapidly. He could tell that the person who refined this medicinal liquid was not a true alchemist. Because in this medicinal liquid, many refining methods that alchemists should have grasped, the other party did not use them. But the other party was abnormally proficient and exquisite regarding the extraction and refinement of the medicinal liquid. This kind of exquisiteness even surpassed the level of heavenly alchemists that he had seen before, reaching a kind of realm that people found hard to imagine. This was a figure with unusual talent, a self-taught genius. Master Lu guessed that the other party's alchemy level was not high. It was just that under a lucky coincidence, he successfully refined this bottle of medicinal liquid. In the alchemist circle, there was a legend called Extreme Realm circulating. It was said that when alchemists were fully focused and their spirit entered heaven and earth, they would obtain the blessing of heaven and earth destiny. At that time, alchemists refining medicine was akin to having divine assistance. They could easily refine transcendent-grade medicinal liquids and medicinal pills that surpassed their own grade. Under this kind of situation, if alchemists could advance, they could instantly directly raise their own alchemy level to the peak of the next level. But this kind of realm could be encountered by chance and not sought. They had only heard before and had never witnessed it before. Could it be that this old man entered that kind of extreme realm state under such a lucky coincidence, and that was how he was able to refine such a medicinal liquid? Thinking, Master Lu's heart suddenly pounded rapidly. If this was the case, this bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, he might be able to take it for himself? Master Lu knew the preciousness of transcendent-grade medicinal liquids. Such a bottle of transcendent-grade medicinal liquid, even a heavenly alchemist might not be able to refine it. More importantly, this bottle of medicinal liquid was used to treat meridian injuries. He thought of the prescription that the High Lord had asked him to refine. It was also used to treat meridian injuries. If he could present this bottle of supreme-grade medicinal liquid to the Honorable Lord, he would be able to enjoy endless benefits in the future. Thinking of this, Master Lu's heart beat even faster. He clenched the porcelain bottle in his hand and instantly made a decision in his heart. The grade of this medicinal liquid seems to be pretty good. Earth rank high level. When he said that, he specially looked at Luo Qingtong's expression. Seeing that she did not have any reaction to the grade he mentioned, he was instantly even more certain of his guess. This person was indeed able to refine this bottle of medicinal liquid by chance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so clueless about the grade of this medicinal liquid. As he thought about it, he was pleasantly surprised and couldn't wait any longer. However, as for what kind of medicinal effect it is, I still need to examine it carefully. You guys wait here for a while. As Master Lu spoke, he took the bottle of medicinal liquid and walked out. Chapter 88. Master Lu came back very quickly. After a short while, He took the medicinal liquid and returned to the private room. Guest. Here's your medicinal liquid. He handed the porcelain bottle in his hand to Luo Qingtong. As soon as the porcelain bottle was in her hand, Luo Qingtong's eyebrows rose. I'm very sorry, guest. The medicinal effect that you said is different from the actual effect. This bottle of medicinal liquid is indeed a high-grade earth step medicinal liquid. It also has a certain healing effect on the meridians, but it's not as heaven-defying as you said. It also doesn't have much effect on the counterattack of the forbidden technique. It can only have a certain moderating and prolonging effect. Master Lu looked at Luo Qingtong with a face full of regret. I don't know where guest got this medicinal liquid formula, but it's a pity that you should have been cheated. However, this bottle of earth step medicinal liquid is also very valuable. It's up to you to decide how to choose. Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. You're saying that I've been cheated? The medicinal liquid that I brought doesn't match the actual effect that I said? Yes. Master Lu said seriously, my appraisal can't be wrong. If guest doesn't believe me, you can find another pharmacist to appraise it. However, I dare to guarantee that the result will absolutely not be any different. Of course, there wouldn't be any difference because the medicinal liquid inside had already been replaced by him. Luo Qingtong didn't need to open the porcelain bottle to know that the medicinal liquid inside had completely changed. The medicinal liquid that she refined was replaced by another person. What appeared in the porcelain bottle was another high-grade earth step medicinal liquid. It was the medicinal liquid that this earth step pharmacist was talking about. Interesting. Someone actually dared to covet her things. Luo Qingtong's face slowly blossomed into a smile. It was blocked by the sinister Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. No one could see the bloodthirsty beauty within. The demonic charm was like a poppy that moved people's hearts and souls. Since it's like this, then I don't want this medicinal liquid. Is this trash worthy to be given to me? Her words had a double meaning. Master Lu's expression slightly changed as she confidently threw away the porcelain bottle in her hand. I'll give it to your Blackfield auction house. I only hope that you can hold it firmly. Sell it for a good price. After all, it was bought with her life. Was it so easy to take her things? Luo Qingtong glanced at Master Lu's hands, the smile on her lips even more wanton. She threw away the bottle of medicinal liquid and directly out of the Blackfield auction house. The manager looked at the side. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. He picked up the bottle of liquid that Luo Qingtong had thrown down and looked at Master Lu with a frown. Master Lu, what's going on? Is this customer's medicinal liquid really inconsistent with the actual effect? At the end of his words, there was a hint of sternness in his voice. To be able to become the chief steward of an auction house, which one of them wasn't a shrewd person? Luo Qingtong's sudden performance made him suspicious. However, he found it hard to believe. Being looked at with suspicion, Master Lu's heart was also very angry. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would swallow this loss in silence, or find him to make trouble. He had ways to deal with both of these. He didn't expect the other party's actions to be so unexpected. She actually threw away her own medicinal liquid and called it trash. How do I know what's going on? What do you mean by questioning me like this? Are you suspecting me? He sneered. I'm a dignified earth step pharmacist. Do I need to covet her medicinal liquid? Ridiculous. Chapter 89. After Luo Qingtong left the auction house, she went straight to the northwest of the Blackfield sub-city. Just now at the auction house, she could have exposed the fact that the other party had swapped her medicine. But was that necessary? In the end, the other party was from the auction house. Luo Qingtong didn't expect the people from the auction house to be fair and just. Who knew if the steward had colluded with the other party? Luo Qingtong still liked to solve problems in her own way. Putting your hopes on others was the most stupid thing. If she had done this in the 24th century, she wouldn't know how many times she would have been betrayed. Thinking of the past, Luo Qingtong's smile became more enchanting and wanton. In this world, she didn't trust anyone. She only believed in herself. Without the auction house as a channel, she could still spread the name of her evil Dr. Ghost Eye. And it would spread faster than cooperating with the auction house. Louder. As for Master Lu, Luo Qingtong just smiled and didn't say anything. Blackfield Sub-City. Bloody Arena. This was a killing paradise. This was a bloodthirsty hell. Here, there was the excitement and blood that people needed. All of the negative emotions of human beings were released to the fullest. Kill! 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 Luo Qingtong had just walked into the arena when she heard a wild roar filled with boundless murderous intent. It rushed out from inside like an avalanche. The moment the vermilion door opened, the earth-shattering screams from inside almost overturned the dome of the arena. Every city in the Black region had a bloody arena, allowing the people who entered to vent their anger and killing intent. In this arena, people could enter voluntarily, or they could put the slaves they bought into it and fight to the death to win the money that others bet. That's right, this was not only the biggest fighting arena, but it was also a huge casino. But other casinos bet on cards. Here, they bet on life and death. As soon as Luo Qingtong entered, she was surrounded by maids wearing revealing clothes. "Sir, which table would you like to bet on?" A charming, tall and half-exposed maid leaned towards Luo Qingtong with a seductive look on her face. "From the 1st to the 9th tables, there must be something you like." Ah! At this point, she suddenly screamed. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she let go of her hand that was reaching for her lapel and wanted to touch her chest. "I don't like other people touching me, she said in a low and hoarse voice and directly threw him away. "Get someone who knows the rules." "Yes, yes." The maid covered her broken wrist, and another maid took her place. Because of Luo Qingtong's ruthlessness, the maid's actions were very well behaved. She didn't dare to rub against Luo Qingtong's body. "Dear customer, what kind of betting method do you prefer?" "I want the most exciting one." Luo Qingtong looked in the direction of the 9th platform. "Then I'll choose that." The battle on the 9th platform was the most tragic. Thus, all the people that entered this combat arena were heavily injured. The more serious the injury, the more generous the reward after the battle. In this kind of situation, in order to survive, in order to win, the battle here was much more tragic and bloody than the other places. When Luo Qingtong looked over, the battle on the platform had already reached its end, and the outcome was about to be decided. An incomparably tall and sturdy man was pressed down by a thin and small man. Although he struggled with all his might, he couldn't break free. The thin and small man's strength was not stronger than the tall and sturdy man. In fact, he was much weaker than the tall and sturdy man. But the tall and sturdy man's injuries were too serious. All the meridians in his body were torn, and there was a big hole in his abdomen. His left and right arms were almost cut off. Even his legs, which were the only things he could move, were now bleeding profusely. Chapter 90. Mother. Mother? Luo Qingtong heard his lips moving slightly, constantly calling out to something in a low voice. That pair of eyes looked slack, then focused again, then slack, then focused again. It was as if there was some obsession supporting him, making him unwilling to die just like that. "TSK. This fool on the stage is really struggling to the point that people can't bear to look at him." "That's right. We've been through blood and blood. Who hasn't seen life and death? But this idiot looked so King scary that people couldn't bring themselves to do it. But no matter what, he's dead for sure this time." AI. Who told him to be so stubborn that he didn't listen to anyone's advice? He's already injured like that. He might not even be able to survive even if he lies down and doesn't move, yet he still wants to fight. Look at him now. He's giving away his life and money for nothing. No one in the entire arena bet on him to win. What's the use of him fighting like this? His mother is already dead. There's no saving him. This silly boy. That's right, that skinny little guy is also sinister, deliberately using these words to provoke him. He wants to take his life with serious injuries and fight for a bright future. We can be considered as not being righteous. But we're not that wicked. This time, this blockhead is dead for sure. Faint sighs could be heard from all around. The atmosphere on the 9th arena wasn't as wild and bloodthirsty as the other arenas, and it was even somewhat solemn. Dead for sure? Luo Qingtong listened to these people's words, raised her eyebrows slightly, and raised her hand to point at the stage. "All right, it's him. I bet on him to win 100,000 gold. WH. What?" That maid was just about to record down Luo Qingtong's bet when she heard this, and instantly thought that she had misheard. Guessed. What did you say?" "I said I bet on him to win. It's that blockhead." 100,000 gold. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. You've recorded it? Record. Record it. But guessed, he's about to die. That maid couldn't help but say after recording down Luo Qingtong's bet. 100,000 gold on a person about to die to win. Did this guest have too much money to burn? The maid couldn't figure it out. He won't die. The moment the maid finished speaking, Luo Qingtong's figure shot out. With her around, how could the other party die? As long as he didn't want to die, even if he was at the gates of hell, she would pull him back. Once someone was in her hands, unless she didn't want to save them, unless the other party wanted to die, she would definitely be able to save them. Shwa! Luo Qingtong landed beside the arena. Do you want to live? Her voice entered the ears of the tall and strong man. A trace of doubt appeared on the latter's face. Then he nodded vigorously. Yes. His voice was loud and clear, attracting everyone's attention. They didn't know what this blockhead was up to. But no matter what he did, he was dead for sure this time. If you want to, then kill him. I'll save you. As Luo Qingtong spoke, a stream of energy instantly shot out from her fingertips and hit the Bai Hui acupoint on the top of the blockhead's head. With a boom, the tall and strong man only felt the blood in his body boiling. Roar! He let out a roar that sounded like both a man and a beast. In the next second, his figure suddenly exploded, and in an instant, he threw off the thin and small man on top of him. Ka! The blockhead flew up, caught up with the thin and small man's figure, and viciously twisted his head off. Bang! Chapter 91. Pang pang pang. When he fell down, the tall and strong man's body exploded into a mist of blood. In an instant, the man's body no longer had a trace of a human. Everyone in the stands looked at this scene in shock. Forbidden technique. This blockhead is purely looking for death. With such a serious injury, he still dares to use a forbidden technique to forcibly stimulate his strength. Even a person who is unharmed may not be able to withstand the backlash of using a forbidden technique. Is he crazy? Exclamations came one after another. Everyone in the stands was dumbfounded. Everyone thought that the blockhead would lose, but they didn't expect that he still had the strength to use a forbidden technique to kill his opponent. He won. Luo Qingtong looked at the maid behind her who was responsible for recording the bet, raised her eyebrows and said, "Tell your manager to prepare the money." In the entire bloody arena, only Luo Qingtong bet on the blockhead to win. The odds were so high that it was enough to shock people. It broke the record of the bloody arena for so many years. Luo Qingtong's 100,000 gold instantly increased by more than 100 times. No. No, guest. The maid was also stunned by the result of the reversal on the stage. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong just bet on the blockhead to win, and the latter really killed his opponent? But this wasn't enough. She came back to her senses and explained to Luo Qingtong, "Customer, in order for him to win, he must be able to survive. If both sides perish together, the winner would be the Zhuang family. He is dead." Before these 3 words could be said, Luo Qingtong's figure had already landed on the stage in front of her. "I said he won't die." Luo Qingtong's voice faintly floated from the front. The maid stared at her as she took out a bottle of liquid medicine from her bosom and fed it to the blockhead on the stage. Then she raised her hand and poked him a few times. They watched as Luo Qingtong lowered her head and whispered something in the blockhead's ear. Then, the tall and strong man who was obviously on his last breath and could go see the king of hell at any time stood up shakily. He stood up. F***CK. With such a serious injury, he still forcibly used a forbidden technique. Under such a backlash, it was already God's mercy that he didn't die. That blockhead could still stand up. Everyone was shocked. The whole area around the 9th arena was silent. This kind of silence seemed to be contagious as it spread in all directions. When the people on the other arenas found that the people on their side of the stands were not watching their fight, but watching the 9th arena, the entire bloody arena was immersed in a very strange atmosphere. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost as they stared at the blockhead who had crawled up from the ground. The other party's movements were so clean and efficient. The big hole in his abdomen was still there, but there was no more bleeding. What the hell is going on? What did the black-robed man say to that blockhead? It had such an effect. Could it be some kind of resurrection incantation? Some people couldn't help but think. Even more people shifted their burning gazes to the porcelain bottle in Luo Qingtong's hand. Obviously, it was that bottle of medicinal liquid that allowed that big blockhead to live. What level of liquid medicine was that, to be able to resurrect the dead? Chapter 92. Being stared at by countless people, Luo Qingtong's expression didn't change at all. She had long been accustomed to the feeling of being the center of attention. In her previous life, wherever she went, there would be a frenzy of people chasing after her. The bottle of medicinal liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand was the Xueqi heart liquid that she had previously refined. Master Lu thought that Luo Qingtong had successfully refined that one bottle, but he didn't know that she had a lot of this medicinal liquid in her hands. After all, as long as you dilute one bottle, you can get dozens of bottles. Luo Qingtong didn't lack medicinal liquid in her hands, so after that bottle of medicinal liquid was replaced, she simply threw it away. How do you feel? She looked at the tall and strong man beside her. It still hurts. The blockhead scratches his head with a simple and honest face. But it's much better than before. Before, I thought I was going to die. As he spoke, he smiled foolishly. But he didn't know that he didn't think he was going to die, but he really almost died. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong, he would be dead. It's normal to feel pain. After all, your external injuries haven't healed yet. The bottle of Xueqi heart liquid in Luo Qingtong's hand can only heal his internal injuries. That is his fatal wound. As for the external injuries, Luo Qingtong has temporarily stopped the bleeding. Others saw that the huge wound on his abdomen is no longer bleeding, but Luo Qingtong used her eye technique to seal all the blood vessels around the wound. There won't be excessive bleeding, so naturally there won't be any danger to his life. After going down, he just needs to recuperate. Now, can you announce that he won? Luo Qingtong looks down at the completely stunned referee below and raises her eyebrows. Yes, yes. That referee comes back to his senses and rushes to the stage to carefully examine the tall and strong man's body. He finds that although his injuries are still very serious, his life is no longer in danger. He immediately announces in a trembling voice. Arena number 9, Battle 132. Chu Lingfeng wins. Hua! Along with his voice, the silence of the entire arena was broken. Everyone stood up with a swoosh, and the gazes they looked at arena number 9 were filled with disbelief. That blockhead who was bound to die, really didn't die? He survived? It wasn't their illusion. Everyone looks at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes, and then desperately yells to bid, wanting to buy the medicinal liquid in her hand. He had even forgotten about losing the bet. In the hysterical shouting and bidding, Luo Qingtong looks at the bloody arena's upper echelon's attention, and the corner of the bloody arena's attention. From then on, the name of evil Dr. Ghost Eye resounded throughout the entire Black Region sub-city. As for the Black Region auction house, after Luo Qingtong left, Master Lu pretended to be in seclusion and entered the extreme state in order to prevent further complications. Then, he excitedly brought the bottle of Xueqi heart liquid and went to see Yi Qianren. This is a medicinal liquid that this subordinate has occasionally refined. It's a blessing. When this subordinate was refining the medicinal liquid, he inexplicably entered the extreme state and refined this bottle of quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid. Lord, please take a look. This bottle of medicinal liquid is mainly used to treat meridian injuries. Master Lu can't hide his excitement. He purposely emphasized his last sentence. Quasi-heaven stage medicinal liquid? On the main seat in the lobby, Yi Qianxian's dark golden mask flashes past the porcelain bottle in his hand. Bei Qing steps forward, takes it in her hand, and presents it to Yi Qianxian. Master. Yi Qianxian raises his hand to take the bottle of medicinal liquid. Just as he opens it, his eyebrows suddenly twitches. Chapter 93. Does this mean that you were the one who made this medicine? He looked at the man below. Yes. Master Lu tried his best to suppress the excitement on his face. Yes, I was the one who made it. Who gave you the formula? Yi Qianxian leaned back and tapped his right hand lightly on the armrest. Under the dark gold mask, the man's expression was unreadable. Luo Qingtong's formula was derived from his healing medicine. How could Yi Qianxian not recognize it? Although Luo Qingtong had improved the formula and only used half of the original formula, Yi Chenxian had used too much of it. Yi Chenxian had been using the healing medicine for too long. The smell of the medicine had been engraved into his bones. The smell of the medicine was so familiar that he could not help but suspect that it had something to do with that woman. The image of Luo Qingtong's flowery face appeared in his mind. She gave off an unusually cunning and evil aura. Yi Chenxian narrowed his eyes slightly. If it was that woman, she could have known the formula of his healing medicine with just one look. It was not impossible for her to have only used a portion of it to make the medicine. Yi Chenxian thought about all the strange things that Luo Qingtong had done in the 9 Magi Mountains. So that woman could not only be a weapon refiner, a spiritual array master, but also an alchemist? How many abilities did she have? My lord? Master Lu was stunned by his words. Why would the lord suddenly ask about this? Could it be that the lord had seen through his action of changing the medicine? No. Impossible. How could the lord know about such a small matter? Master Lu tried his best to maintain his composure. His voice trembled as he spoke. My lord, I do not know what you mean. This medicine was made by me. The formula was also. You can't make this medicine. Yi Chenxian interrupted him. The formula could not have been made by you. There is no need to hide it. Who gave it to you? Tell me. Yi Chenxian did not know that Master Lu had changed the medicine, but he was sure that the medicine was not made by him, because the formula of the healing medicine was not something that could be made by an ordinary person. Even if it could be made, the other party would not be able to make it. Extreme state? If the other party had really entered the extreme state, then he should know that there was an upper limit to the extreme state. Even if he entered the extreme state, it was impossible for him to make this medicine. Only a heavenly alchemist had a chance. Furthermore, it was only a slight possibility. My lord. Under Yi Chenxian's gaze, Master Lu broke out in cold sweat. He could see that Ming Zun did not know that he had changed the medicine, but he mistakenly thought that the prescription was given to him by someone else. Although he didn't know why the Great Lord was so certain, it was obvious that he was looking for the owner of the formula. But this medicine Master Lu's that it medicine. How could he dare to speak the truth? Could it be that he was going to tell the Lord that the person he was looking for had been forced away by him? Moreover, I have a grudge against him, so please don't go looking for him. How could this be? Master Lu's forehead was dripping with sweat. No matter what, he could not admit to this matter. He had to think of a way to smooth things over. Otherwise, if the Lord were to find that black-robed man, he would definitely be in deep trouble. At this time, Master Lu was extremely regretful. If he had known that Master Yao would be able to see through it at a glance and knew that it was not refined by him, why would he change the medicine? If he introduced the black-robed man to the Lord, he would also be rewarded handsomely. As he thought about it, he felt a wave of regret. Just as he was trying his best to find an excuse to get away with it, a sharp pain suddenly came from his hand. Chapter 94. This stinging pain came so suddenly, but it came with such ferocity. Master Lu suddenly screamed in pain. How dare you? Bei Qing scolded him coldly. Master, what is this? He looked at Master Lu's hands in shock. Master Lu's hands were perfectly fine just a moment ago, but now they had turned into a greenish-black color. It was a color that could only be seen after the flesh and blood had rotted away. Not only that, but a pungent smell of rot was emitted from Master Lu's hands. The stench was so strong that Bei Qing took a step back. She watched in horror as Master Lu's hands rapidly rotted and deteriorated. His hands were covered with pus and blood and dark black rotten flesh. As Master Lu convulsed violently in pain, pieces of flesh fell to the ground. The black pieces of flesh fell to the ground, emitting a strong stench. How could a person's hands become like this in an instant? Bei Qing was stunned, but Feng Yu, who was next to her, reacted quickly. You didn't refine this medicinal liquid yourself at all. Right. This is the medicine that was made by someone else. You were greedy and touched something that you shouldn't have. Your hands are rotting. His voice was cold as he stepped forward and pulled Bei Qing over. The poison that corroded his hands was so strong that it almost corroded his hands into a pile of bones. If he was infected by it, who knew what the consequences would be? Master Lu was in so much pain that he couldn't even speak. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. His 10 fingers were rotting, and the greenish-black color was still spreading up his arms. If this went on, he might end up rotting into a skeleton. Master Lu trembled violently as he thought of this. The black-robed man. It's that black-robed old man. I have to find him. I was wrong. I shouldn't have swapped his medicine. He cried and rushed out. Without needing Feng Yu's reminder, Master Lu immediately thought of Luo Qingtong. He was shocked and frightened when he thought of the words that the other party had said before he left. The other party's poison was so powerful. He didn't even know when he was poisoned. He knew that he had swapped the medicine, but he didn't point it out. This was simply tormenting him. As Master Lu thought about it, he trembled even more. However, he did not dare to delay at all and hurriedly rushed out. He was going to find Luo Qingtong to detoxify him. Seeing him rush out of the door, Yi Chenxian, who was sitting on the main seat, finally moved. A black-robed old man? Not that woman? He looked at Master Lu's pair of terrifying skeletal hands without a trace of emotion, but now because of the other party's words, he frowned. Send someone to follow him. Also, get someone to call the manager of the auction house over. He wanted to know more about the black-robed man. Yes, Master. Bei Qing and Feng Yu accepted the order and left. In the bloody arena, Luo Qingtong was respectfully invited to the VIP room at the back, and became a guest of honor here. A group of fiendish-looking managers of the bloody arena were looking at her with a smile, with a kind look on their faces. That appearance, coupled with their fierce-looking faces, was even scarier than their usual ferocious appearances. However, Luo Qingtong did not care at all. It wasn't the first time she had come into contact with such bloodthirsty people. The other party obviously had a request for her. Chapter 95. Sir Evil Doctor. After inviting Luo Qingtong to take a seat, a manager of the bloody arena couldn't help but rub his hands. How many bottles of medicinal liquid do you have in your hands? Wait. Before he finished speaking, Luo Qingtong faintly opened her mouth. 10 bottles. Half of it will be distributed by the bloody arena, and the other half will be auctioned off. I'll take 90% of the price. How about the cooperation in the future? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the managers of the bloody arena were pleasantly surprised. They were just worrying about how to win over this evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The other party took the initiative to propose cooperation. Wasn't this like a sleepy bug meeting a good pillow? Without any hesitation, they agreed in one breath. In the end, for fear that Luo Qingtong would go back on her words, they hurriedly prepared her reward. After all, Luo Qingtong sold them the 5 bottles of medicinal liquid that the bloody arena had allocated themselves, and they also had to pay for it. As for the money that Luo Qingtong had won from the bet, they had already prepared it. Luo Qingtong stopped them and only took the money that she had won from the bet. This money was enough for her to use. As for the rest, she still had things to do for these people in the bloody arena. The 5 bottles of medicinal liquid could be regarded as her down payment. Luo Qingtong didn't forget her purpose in coming to the Blackfield sub-city. It was to find the detoxification herb she needed to cure the poison in her eyes. Originally, it was most reliable to find the auction house for this matter. After all, there were more transactions there, and it was easier to find the herbs that Luo Qingtong needed. But who let the pharmacist on their side be blind and offend Luo Qingtong? Since they had become enemies, Luo Qingtong naturally couldn't go to the other side to find and buy herbs. Naturally, the Gory Arena was the one to blame for this. Fortunately, they also belonged to the Blackfield sub-city, and their status and weight were no less than the auction house. What the latter could get, they could also find a way to get. This was the real reason why Luo Qingtong cooperated with them. As long as it was a force from the Blackfield, there was a need for cooperation. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't have that much time to find the antidote. I need these herbs. You guys think of a way to prepare them for me. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me. Luo Qingtong gave them the list of medicinal herbs. There were hundreds of medicinal herbs listed on it. The antidote that Luo Qingtong needed was hidden inside. This way, no one would be able to easily guess her motive. After winning a lot of money, Luo Qingtong was not short of money at all. Moreover, the people in the bloody arena wouldn't let her lack money. Sure enough, after hearing her words, a group of people from the bloody arena patted their chests and promised that they would help Luo Qingtong prepare all the medicinal herbs on the list as soon as possible. As for money, it didn't matter. If Lord Ghost I were to casually concoct 2 bottles of medicine for them, it would be more than enough to cover the cost of the medicine. These people in charge of the bloody arena didn't lack money. On the contrary, the medicine that Luo Qingtong concocted couldn't be bought with money. They knew better than anyone how to settle this account. Luo Qingtong smiled and nodded. She got up and prepared to leave the VIP room. Just then, a person suddenly rushed in from outside. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Who is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Impudent. Who are you? How dare you call Lord Evil Doctor by her name? These people in the bloody arena didn't know Luo Qingtong's real name. They thought that Evil Doctor was Luo Qingtong's name and Ghost Eye was Luo Qingtong's name. Seeing this person barge into the bloody arena's VIP room and call Luo Qingtong by her name, they were furious. Chapter 96. Impudent. How dare you touch me? The man's expression was very anxious. Seeing that the people from the bloody arena were chasing him away, he immediately took out something from his arms and held it up in front of him. Black Field Token. Seeing that black iron level token, the people from the bloody arena immediately stopped. People who had a black field token were guests in the black field. Unless they did something extremely excessive and violated the rules of the black field, all the cities in the black field had to treat them with the appropriate courtesy. Although the other party took out the lowest level black field token and had limited authority, the people from the bloody arena still couldn't be too presumptuous with him. Who are you? Even if you have a black field token, you can't barge into my bloody arena without any scruples. Now, please leave immediately. Otherwise, after 3 warnings, I can still throw you out. The people from the bloody arena lost face in front of Luo Qingtong and looked at the man who barged in with unkind expressions. Damn it! If the other party didn't have a black field token, they would have thrown him out long ago. Lord Evil Doctor, I'm sorry. One of the people in charge of the bloody arena transmitted his voice to Luo Qingtong. You've been frightened. After a while, we'll also apply for a black field token for you. It's guaranteed to be higher level than his black iron level token. When you appear in all the cities in the black field, you won't be harassed by these rascals. With Luo Qingtong's identity as the Evil Doctor, it was enough for the higher-ups to issue a black field token. When the time came, they just had to work a little and get a silver token. It would also save them the trouble of always having people act presumptuously in front of them and not being able to do anything to them. Wasn't this making things difficult for Lord Evil Doctor? Having already cooperated with Luo Qingtong, the people in charge of the bloody arena had long regarded her as one of their own. At this moment, seeing her being harassed by someone with an iron-grade black field token, and being unable to do anything about it, they were extremely displeased. Yes, it's fine. Luo Qingtong nodded indifferently at the bloody arena's manager. The opportunity to obtain the black field token was naturally good. Not to mention the black field order, which was of a higher grade. Speaking of which, she had to thank the person who had barged in. Luo Qingtong thought as she raised her head to look at the other party. When she saw it, she immediately laughed. Not for anything else, but because the person who had barged in was none other than Yu Wenma, her good fiancé. Luo Qingtong looked at Yu Wenma playfully. Upon closer inspection, the other party was indeed a rare handsome man. His face was cold, handsome, and resolute. He possessed both the noble aura of an imperial family and the piercingly cold aura of a genius expert. However, she had already seen Yi Qianxian, a one-of-a-kind person in the world. Looking at Yu Wenma again, Luo Qingtong could only describe him with one word: passable. Of course, in this world, there were many people who couldn't even reach the standard of these 2 words. Yu Wenma's expression was very anxious. His gaze swept over the bloody arena's higher-ups, and finally fixed on Luo Qingtong, who didn't look like someone from the bloody arena. Especially when he saw the Rakshasa mask on her face, he immediately confirmed her identity in his heart. You're the Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Come with me to save my junior sister. We're disciples of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. As long as you save my junior sister, we'll naturally reward you greatly. As he spoke, he thought that Luo Qingtong wouldn't refuse, so he raised his hand to pull her. Chapter 97. I'm sorry, this disciple of the Empire of Qin's holy court. Luo Qingtong's red lips softly spit out. There are 3 things I won't save. First, I won't save people I'm not happy with. Second, I won't save people who deserve to die. Third, I won't save people who can't be cured by me. So, you should ask someone else. Help him save his junior sister? Heh. Did you one more really think that she, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was some random cat or dog on the roadside that he could summon and dismiss at will? Don't say that I have a good impression of him. Even if he was a stranger who didn't feel anything, Luo Qingtong wouldn't make a move because of his rude actions just now. The other party didn't respect her as a pharmacist at all. Indeed, Yu Wenma heard that there was an evil Dr. Ghost Eye here who could bring the dead back to life, so he directly came over. He actually didn't believe that Luo Qingtong's medical skills were that good. He had never heard of the name Evil Dr. Ghost Eye before. Not to mention bringing the dead back to life. He even said that the backlash from using the forbidden technique was cured in an instant. Not only that, the injuries in his body were all healed. Yu Wenma simply scoffed. It was just a gimmick from the bloody battle arena. To fool those ignorant cultivators. Even their holy court's pharmacist teacher couldn't refine this kind of medicinal liquid. How could there be such a powerful person in this small black field branch city? He just thought that the other party was a pharmacist and might be of some use, so he came to find her. He didn't expect that the other party didn't know how to appreciate favors. Did he feel that he didn't offer a price and was afraid that he would suffer a loss? He heard that he had won a lot of money before. Could it be that he was insatiably greedy and wanted more? Yu Wenma felt disgust in his heart. He looked up at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "Do you think the price isn't enough? How much did you pay for the person you saved just now?" "I'll pay 10 times the price." Yu Wenma didn't want to waste words with Luo Qingtong. His junior sister had just used a secret technique on the stage and injured her meridians. He didn't know if it would affect her cultivation in the future. The other party had snuck out to find him. If teacher were to find out that little junior sister was injured because she snuck out to look for him, and that it might affect her future cultivation advancement, it was inevitable that teacher would vent his anger on him. Therefore, Yu Wenma came to find Luo Qingtong, the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, with a glimmer of hope. He hoped that she would have some real ability to stabilize his junior sister's injuries. When he returned to the holy court, there would naturally be people who would help him treat him. 10 times, that's a lot. Luo Qingtong's voice dragged out, low and hoarse. Just when Yu Wenma thought that she was moved and felt contempt in his heart, he suddenly heard her tone change. She sneered and said, "Unfortunately, I don't like you." 10 times? She didn't care even if the price was 100 or 1,000 times higher. What's more, she had saved that blockhead because she wanted to. She didn't even take a single cent. But Yu Wenma wanted to ask her for help? Sorry. She wasn't willing. Luo Qingtong walked past Yu Wenma and headed outside. At this time, the other new students of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin also arrived. "Senior brother, don't talk to this kind of person. I think it's not that he doesn't want to save her. It's that he doesn't dare to save her." "That's right. Senior brother. I think he's just a swindler. Let's not talk nonsense with him. We should hurry and find that Earth Stage Alchemist Grandmaster Lu from the auction house. As long as he's willing to help, junior sister will be fine." The new students of the Holy Court were very angry at Luo Qingtong for treating Yu Wenma so slowly. They pulled him and were about to leave. "That's right. Yu Wenma, disdain to ask this kind of person for help. Let's go," Yu Wenma said coldly. The group of people said this and were about to leave. Chapter 98. Master. Master, save me. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Waves of mournful cries came from afar. In the arena, the crowd parted at the entrance like a tide. It was so fast that it was as if something terrifying had rushed in from outside the door. One had to know that those who entered the arena to vent their anger were mostly violent and tyrannical people who had seen life and death and blood. Usually, they wouldn't even blink when they saw someone with broken limbs. But this time, they scattered as if they had seen a ghost. Yuanma and his group just happened to walk out of the VIP lounge and saw the crowd parting in the arena. They immediately looked over curiously. When they saw it, they vomited. Some of the freshmen with weaker psychological endurance vomited on the spot. The others' faces also turned pale. They saw a person rushing out from the middle of the passageway where the crowd had parted. No, it couldn't even be called a person. It would be more appropriate to describe it as a rotting corpse. The flesh on the man's body was rotten into chunks. As he rushed forward, the chunks of flesh kept falling down, mixed with a yellow and white mucus. It looked like a rotting corpse that could move. What was even more terrifying was that half of his face was rotten. As he ran and screamed, the rotting flesh on his mouth fell down bit by bit, revealing the eerie white bones within. As he moved, an unbearable stench quickly spread out. Such a horrifying scene was not common even in nightmares, let alone in reality. Master, save me. I beg you to spare me. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again. That disgusting rotting corpse ran in front of Luo Qingtong and knelt down, kowtowing with all his might. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again. I didn't recognize Mount Tai and didn't know how powerful you are. Master, spare me. Spare me. Master Lu cried and screamed as he desperately begged for mercy. His whole body was rotten to the extreme and it was still deteriorating. He had a feeling that if this continued, the surface of his body would completely rot, and it would be his internal organs' turn. At that time, even the Golden Immortal wouldn't be able to save him. The poison was acting up too violently. He had no time to react at all. Even after eating several antidote pills, there was no effect. What's more, even the medicinal pill that he bought at a high price that could cure 100 poisons refined by a heavenly alchemist had no effect. Instead, it was getting worse and worse. If he hadn't heard that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye had appeared in the bloody arena and was most likely the black-robed old man, he would have committed suicide in despair. Master, please be merciful. Please be merciful. He kowtowed desperately. Pieces of rotten flesh fell from his body and face as he moved. Many people couldn't help but avert their eyes in disgust. At this moment, someone from the freshmen of the Saint Academy who were with UNMO couldn't help but say, "You evil doctor are too vicious. What did he do that made you want to torture him like this?" There was no mercy in his heart at all. Really? Luo Qingtong smiled. She wasn't in a hurry to leave. She sat down on a chair next to her and raised her head to look at the rotting corpse kneeling at her feet. In that case, Master Lu, why don't you tell them what you did to become like this? When Luo Qingtong said this, everyone was shocked. Chapter 99. Everyone looked at the disgusting person kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy in shock. They couldn't connect this person with the arrogant and aloof Master Lu in the auction house. How could this be? This was actually Master Lu. But with Luo Qingtong's words, everyone could vaguely see some of Master Lu's silhouette from the remaining intact face. Could this really be Master Lu? While everyone was still in shock, the new students of the sacred institution instantly retorted angrily. You're talking nonsense. Master Lu is an Earth stage alchemist. How could he become like this? You evil doctor are really disgusting. You actually use such words to humiliate people. I think you're afraid that we'll go find Master Lu. Deliberately playing these tricks to disgust people. Those new students of the sacred institution just said this when they were interrupted by a voice from the side. This really is Master Lu. Look, he's even wearing an Earth stage alchemist robe. And there's also that badge on his chest. It really is Master Lu. Because that rotten corpse was too disgusting. No one paid attention to what the bloody black clothes on his body looked like. Now that they heard that person say this, many people immediately looked towards that rotting corpse. Sure enough, they saw the emblem that symbolized an Earth-rank alchemist and that alchemist robe. This really was Master Lu. Everyone was shocked, and those new students of the sacred institution who kept criticizing Luo Qingtong looked like they swallowed a fly, their faces alternating between green and white. At this moment, Master Lu's voice also sounded. Master, I was wrong. I don't dare to switch your medicinal liquid again. Everything is because of my greed. I deserve to die. Please spare me. Spare me. The way he slowly rotted and died was too terrifying. Master Lu simply couldn't care about his dignity as an Earth-stage alchemist. His life was gone. What was the use of that false reputation? Once he spoke, those new students of the sacred institution's face became even uglier. They just said that Luo Qingtong treated the other party too viciously, and in the end, Master Lu revealed that it was because he switched Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid that he became like this. Thinking about it, that poison must have been put on the medicinal liquid by Luo Qingtong. Whoever touched her medicine would end up like this. Master Lu had only himself to blame. Luo Qingtong didn't even make a move. But you can't use such a vicious poison. A new student of the Sacred Institute wanted to defend himself and the others, but he was scolded by the surrounding crowd. Can you students of the Sacred Institute be reasonable? The poison was smeared on the medicine bottle. If Master Lu had not been so greedy, he would have been fine. No matter how vicious this poison was, it couldn't hurt him. Who asked him to be so dirty? Exactly. Some people who supported Luo Qingtong scolded, "You're talking as if you won't beat a thief to death when you catch him. Your hands must be stained with blood, right? You're still pretending to be a saint. It's not disgusting." These freshmen of the Holy Institute had found the wrong place to speak up for Grandmaster Lu. This was the bloody arena. Most of the people here were ruthless people who paid particular attention to revenge. In their eyes, there was nothing wrong with Luo Qingtong's approach. But the words of these students of the Sacred Institute were disgusting. They were kind-hearted. If you're kind-hearted, don't fight back when you meet an opponent who wants to kill you. Here you're so righteous, but in the end, you're doing the same thing. Everyone looked at them with disdain. Being looked at like this, the faces of the new students of the Sacred Institute immediately turned red. Yu Wenma's face was also very ugly. It was not because of the ridicule of the people around, but because Luo Qingtong's medical skills were so amazing. Even Grandmaster Lu was like this because of her. She had really misjudged him before. "Let's go," he said coldly. At this moment, Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. Chapter 100. You're leaving just like that? Luo Qingtong tilted her head slightly. Under the black hood, a ferocious and evil Rakshasa mask appeared. The ferocious Rakshasa on the mask faintly looked at Yu Wenma and the others with an evil smile. "You just said that I'm vicious and fishing for fame. What? Now that the truth is out, aren't you going to say anything?" Luo Qingtong faintly flicked her sleeves and looked at them. Following her words, the people of the bloody arena also stood up. "That's right. Just now, you wantonly slandered Master Evil Doctor. Now you want to leave after scolding her? How can there be such a good thing?" A group of rough men stared at Yu Wenma and the others with unkind eyes. "What do you want?" Yu Wenma's complexion was already bad. Now that he was stopped by Luo Qingtong, his expression turned even uglier. Although he asked the people of the bloody arena, his eyes were looking at Luo Qingtong. Everyone knew that the one in charge here was Luo Qingtong. "Nothing much." Luo Qingtong looked at him with a faint smile. The ugly expression on the other party's face made her very happy. "Huh. Wasn't Yu Wenma very high and mighty before?" The genius freshman of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin really had the right to be proud. If it were someone else, Luo Qingtong might not bicker with them. But Yu Wenma, thinking of how Yuan royal family had looked down on Luo Qingtong and the entire Luo family, and how he spoke to them in a condescending tone, Luo Qingtong crossed her arms and tapped her fingers casually. "I just want you to apologize to me in front of everyone." When Luo Qingtong said this, the freshmen of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It was just an apology. It was nothing. However, the next second, Luo Qingtong's tone suddenly changed. "Kneel down, kowtow, and say sorry 3 times. This evil doctor will forgive you." Looking down on her? Questioning her medical skills? Saying that she was fishing for fame? Luo Qingtong's smile hidden under the Rakshasa mask bloomed like a red spider lily. What a coincidence. She was a very vengeful person. And once she remembered, she would definitely take revenge. Plus the original owner's grudges and old grudges. Luo Qingtong felt that she was being very magnanimous by only asking Yuan Mo and the rest to kowtow and apologize. "You!" Hearing her words, the people of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin were instantly furious. That's impossible. In your dreams. A freshman of the Holy Academy behind Yu Wenma said. Make them kneel down and apologize. What face would they have left then? If this matter were to spread out, it would be so humiliating. This evil doctor. That's. So you're saying that you're not going to apologize? Luo Qingtong looked at them with empty eyes. Behind her, a group of people from the bloody arena sneered and took a step forward. Fine. Then let's replace it with physical pain. The people of the bloody arena clenched their fists so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. His imposing manner caused the faces of all the freshmen of the Holy Institute to turn pale. You dare. We're students of the Sacred Academy. The new student suddenly lowered his voice when he said this. It turned out that he suddenly remembered that they were freshmen of the Holy Academy, but the bloody arena was from the Black Field. The Black Field wasn't even afraid of the 4 great sacred dynasties, so why would they care about the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Chapter 101. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the people from the bloody arena and the bystanders all laughed. The Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin, we are so scared. The people from the bloody arena were full of hostility. Suddenly their faces turned serious and they said coldly, then you can try. We will break your legs here. Let's see if the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin dare to come and find trouble with our Lord Mingzun. The Black Field had its own rules. As members of the bloody arena, they couldn't casually attack the students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. But it was different if it was Lord Mingzun's request. Because it was a deal. Moreover, the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin had insulted Lord Mingzun, so it was reasonable for them to attack. As for the iron-level Black Field token, it was the people from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin who broke the rules first. Moreover, the lowest-level Black Field token didn't give them the right to ignore or cancel the rules of the Black Field. If they caused trouble in the Black Field, as long as they didn't kill Yu Wenma and the others, the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin wouldn't dare to find trouble with them. It was because of this that the people from the bloody arena were so determined to stand up for Luo Qingtong. Lord Mingzun would take care of everything. What were they afraid of? In fact, they hoped that none of the new students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin would compromise. That way, they would have a chance to teach them a lesson and curry favor with Lord Mingzun. With Lord Mingzun's medical skills, he could casually make some medicine and pills, which would be enough for them to benefit immensely. Hearing the 2 words, Lord Mingzun, the new students from the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin instantly withered. Especially when they thought that Lord Mingzun was in this sub-city of the Black Field, they panicked even more. If Lord Mingzun was alarmed, they might be in an even more miserable state. Who knew what the Black Field would do to win over this evil doctor? They could only blame themselves for being blind and offending this demonic doctor. At this time, the faces of the freshmen, who had previously been extremely disdainful of Luo Qingtong and felt that she was a swindler, were burning with shame and humiliation. Senior brother. They looked at Yu Wenma. The latter's expression was not much better than theirs. In fact, it was even uglier. But in the face of power, they had no choice but to bow their heads. Yu Wenmo clenched his fists. His heart was filled with shame and anger because of the humiliation he felt. He gritted his teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. In the end, he had no choice but to lower his head. Boom! He knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Luo Qingtong. This is all because of me. I failed to recognize Mount Tai and underestimated Lord Evil Doctor. My junior brothers and sisters were implicated because of me. Lord Evil Doctor, please, don't take it to heart. Every word Yu Wenma said was extremely difficult. As the god's favored son of the Empire of Tianyu, he was admitted to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and became a heaven-grade freshman. He had never been humiliated like this before. The eyes of the surrounding people pierced him like thorns, making him feel extremely humiliated. Yu Wenma lowered his head, unwilling to let her see the shame and indignation in his eyes. Very good. Not bad. Luo Qingtong glanced at him lightly. This Yu Wenma was indeed a character. To be able to endure such a humiliating situation and resolve it, Li Tianming had no choice but to do so. Looking at the touched faces of the surrounding freshmen, Luo Qingtong smiled playfully. Interesting. At this time, if she continued to be aggressive, she would be helping Yuan Ma's good reputation. She was not that kind. Okay. The girl waved her hand. You can go. His nonchalant attitude made Yuan Mo feel even more aggrieved. He didn't say a word and directly left with the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Of course, his injured junior sister was also included. Looking at his angry back and the blue veins on his forehead, Luo Qingtong was in a very good mood. Chapter 102. After leaving the bloody arena, Yuan Ma and the others went straight to where their airship was parked. Their airship didn't have a Sumeru subspace like Yi Qianqian's. They could only park it in the Black Fields airship parking area. After boarding the airship, Yuan Ma didn't say a word. He sat in his seat with a gloomy face. The others didn't even dare to say a word. Everyone could see that he was in a bad mood. At this moment, a letter suddenly flew in from afar like a flying feather and a ray of light. It was the emergency contact he left in the Tianyu Empire. It could send him a message from thousands of miles away. Seeing the light of the letter, Yuan Mo raised his hand and caught it. When he finished reading the contents of the letter, his already ugly expression darkened even more. Pah! He crushed the letter in his hand and wrote a few lines in the air. Then he suddenly waved his hand. The light of the message immediately shot off into the distance. After doing all this, he suddenly raised his hand and slammed it heavily on the tea table in front of him, directly smashing the tea table into pieces. Break off the engagement? In your dreams. Yuan Ma's face was extremely angry. The Luo family wanted to break off the engagement? That was impossible. Luo Qingtong was destined to be his woman in life and his ghost in death. The engagement couldn't be broken off. Yuan Ma didn't care what Yuan Xue did to Luo Qingtong. He only knew that the Luo family didn't have the right to disobey him. If he wanted to marry Luo Qingtong, the Luo family could only obey him. If they didn't, he didn't mind destroying the Luo family and taking Luo Qingtong back to the Tianyu Empire by force. Anyway, he just needed her to be a decoration. As for whether Luo Qingtong and the Luo family were willing or not, it was not within his consideration. It was just a marquee mansion in a low-level country. What right did they have to refuse him? Yuan Ma's face was cold. If it weren't for, he wouldn't even look at Luo Qingtong. Just as Yuan Xue said, she didn't deserve him. Shua! The light of the letter flew towards the Tianyu Empire. After flying for a while, it fell into the emperor's hand. How is it? What did Emir say? Empress Tianyu asked anxiously. Beside her, Yuan Xue also sat up straight and looked towards her imperial father. Emir won't. Also, tell the Luo family to behave themselves and wait for Luo Qingtong to marry him when she is 16. Emperor Tianyu said as he crushed the letter. What? Empress and Yuan Xue couldn't believe it. It's already like this and or still isn't going to break off the engagement? Empress Tianyu was furious. Yuan Xue almost tore her clothes. Has imperial brother gone mad? It's already. He wants to continue the engagement. Aren't we just waiting for others to laugh at our royal family? She stomped her feet anxiously. You still have the nerve to say that. It's all because of you. Emperor Tianyu glared at her. Who told you to make a move on Luo Qingtong? Your brother must have a reason to marry her. You and your mother are the only ones who are causing trouble. I'm not causing trouble. I'm doing it for my brother's sake. That's such a good opportunity. If my brother agrees, he'll have a meteoric rise and our Tianyu imperial family will rise. What did I do wrong? Besides, didn't father and mother both tacitly agree to this? Yuan Xue stomped her feet, looking aggrieved. Chapter 103. Shut up! Emperor Tianyu coldly shouted. If your royal brother doesn't agree, then it's useless. Enough! It's a foregone conclusion and your royal brother won't change his mind. You're not allowed to provoke Luo Qingtong in the future. Emperor Tianyu indifferently said as he stood up. He did acquiesce after discovering Yuan Xue's actions. But now that there was no chance of that happening, he could only accept Luo Qingtong as his daughter-in-law. As for what Yuan Xue did, he would naturally cover it up. With the power of Tianyu Empire, it's easy to erase the influence of Yu Wenshue's actions. Luo family better behave. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind uprooting their entire family. In any case, Mo only wanted Luo Qingtong as a decoration. Alright, you guys can go and comfort grandfather Luo. Tell him not to have any other thoughts. Luo Qingtong is destined to be a member of our Tianyu Empire. Just based on their Luo family, they want to break off the engagement. In their dreams, Emperor Tianyu's heart was unsettled. He didn't show it on his face, but his words were very impolite. As for what Xueqi did, it was just playing around. Give him something to comfort him, that's all. In a bad mood, Emperor Tianyu didn't even have the mood to see grandfather Luo. If Yu Wenma agreed to break off the engagement, he would naturally be willing to see grandfather Luo. But now, Yu Wenma refused. Grandfather Luo coming to break off the engagement was a slap in the face. A weak marquis mansion from an inferior country. How dare he come to their door and break off the engagement? Emperor Tianyu's heart was very uncomfortable and he directly flicked his sleeves to leave. Behind him, Yu Wenshue stomped her feet. Mother! Look at royal father Enough, this is your royal brother's decision. Your royal father can't do anything about it. Someone, summon grandfather Luo. Empress Tianyu was also very unhappy, but she knew that if Yu Wenma didn't agree, no one could force him. Half of Tianyu Empire's power was supported by Yu Wenma. If he didn't agree, no matter how unhappy they were, they couldn't break off the engagement. What a pity. Luo Qingtong took such a good position. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have proposed this marriage to the Luo clan. The more she thought about it, the uglier her expression became. When he faced old Master Luo, he did not have a pleasant expression on his face. With their status in the Tianyu Empire, it was already a blessing for them to marry a girl from a small family like Luo Qingtong. So what if he was dissatisfied? He was just a country-guarding marquis from a small family. Did he expect her, the Empress of Tianyu, to smile at him? At this time, Tianyu Empress had completely forgotten that it was Yu Wenshue who made a move on Luo Qingtong first, so grandfather Luo came to cancel the engagement. Of course, even if she hadn't forgotten, she probably wouldn't have cared. In her eyes, the royal family of Tianyu could do whatever they wanted to the Luo family and Luo Qingtong, but it was wrong for the other party to break off the engagement. It was a slap to the face of Tianyu's royal family. Old Master Luo has sent a message back. The royal family of Tianyu will not withdraw from this marriage. Your Luo clan should stop having other thoughts. Tell Luo Qingtong to get ready. When she turns 16, people from Tianyu will go pick her up. As for Xueqi, it's just a child's play. It's a bit overboard, but it's not a big deal. The Empress of Tianyu sat high up on the high chair and said, "But we've frightened your Luo clan. Here's a gift list. Consider it our apology to the Luo clan. Let's drop this matter. Don't mention the cancellation of the engagement again." Chapter 104. Elder Luo thought the annulment would go smoothly. After all, Tianyu's royal family couldn't deny what Yu Wenshue had done. He didn't expect them to be so shameless. When the Empress of Tianyu spoke, he thought he'd heard wrong. Children's play? No big deal. Bribing the second concubine's daughter to harm the first wife's daughter, crippling her cultivation, blinding her eyes, and throwing her to a group of men to rape. When she was lucky enough to escape, they even sent men to kill her. Was this a game between children? Was this not a big deal? Did Tianyu's royal family take him for a fool? And an apology? Elder Luo looked at the list of gifts in front of him and gritted his teeth so hard they were about to shatter. Qingtong almost lost her life after being wronged like that. Tianyu's royal family sent him away with a gift list. They refused to annul the engagement and didn't even punish Yu Wenshue. What did they take the Luo family for? What did they take Qingtong for? And Luo Qingtong was blind. Elder Luo knew she was fine and could still see with her eye talent. But Tianyu's royal family didn't know. Yet the Empress of Tianyu didn't mention it at all. It was as if Luo Qingtong's blindness wasn't a big deal. Instead, she said it was a child's play and it was harmless. Elder Luo felt that if he accepted the gift list today, He wouldn't have the face to see Luo Qingtong and his ancestors. Bang! Old Master Luo was so angry that he stood up and knocked over the gift box in front of him. That's impossible. Tianyu's royal family did such a thing. I won't marry Qingtong off again. I must annul this engagement. How dare you? The Empress of Tianyu's expression darkened when she saw her gift box being knocked over. She was already unhappy. It was already polite enough for her to suppress her temper and talk to Elder Luo. She didn't expect him to be so unappreciative. How could the Luo family cancel the engagement of the Tianyu royal family as they wished? Bang! She slammed her hand on the armrest and looked at Elder Luo coldly. Who do you think your Luo family is? If Mo, or didn't insist on annulling the engagement, do you think I would care about a small Luo family? What part of that Luo Qingtong is worthy of my son? Let me tell you, you have to agree to this engagement. Even if you don't want to. In front of our Tianyu Empire, you have no right to refuse. F***ck your mother's bullshit. Old Master Luo was completely enraged. That's all I have to say. Tianyu's royal family's royal family. Dream. Regardless of whether you agree or not, our Luo clan will definitely annul this marriage. He then left in a rage. He left. Even if he had to risk his life, he would not let Luo Qingtong marry into Tianyu's royal family. Bang! Seeing Elder Luo Tess, Empress TTS, Empress of. At this time, Xueqi came out from behind the screen. Imperial Mother, this Elder Luo is so arrogant. You're letting him go just like that? She pouted. Enough, don't add fuel to the fire, Empress of Tianyu said with a displeased expression. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. This Elder Luo is our royal family's in-law. Your royal brother is a new student who just entered the sky grade. You can't go too far. Otherwise, you'll ruin his reputation. Otherwise, why would she swallow this anger? Chapter 105. In the Black Field. Luo Qingtong didn't know what happened in the Tianyu Empire. After giving the antidote to Master Lu, she got up and left. Of course, the antidote wasn't given for free. Almost all of Master Lu's property fell into her hands. He had an extremely luxurious and spacious mansion in the Blackfield sub-city. The moment Luo Qingtong got the title deed, she moved in without hesitation. She had always been a person who didn't want to treat herself badly. Who would want to live in an inn when there was a good place to live? She didn't want to be abused. But Master Lu really knew how to enjoy himself. Luo Qingtong looked at the huge white jade pool behind the screen next to the master bedroom. The first thing she did was to take off her clothes and take a bath. She had really had enough of these few days. The Blackfield sub-city was in the wilderness. Luo Qingtong found this place after sleeping in the open for several days. If Master Lu hadn't secretly changed her medicine at the auction house, she would have finished everything and returned to the inn to take a bath. Although he had been delayed for a while, it was still not bad to obtain such a residence. This huge white jade pool was formed by connecting the several side rooms next to the master bedroom together by hollowing them out. That Master Lu was also very elegant. The white jade pool was covered with pebbles. Around the pool, 8 huge beast heads kept pouring out hot water. In a short while, the white jade pool was filled with more than half. Luo Qingtong took off her clothes and stepped barefoot into the pool decorated with bright jade jewelry. For the first time, she felt that Master Lu did the right thing by changing her medicine. Otherwise, how could she get such a good mansion? It should be known that the real estate in the Black Field was very expensive. Moreover, people who weren't in the Black Field couldn't buy it. Even if Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, she didn't have the qualification to buy real estate in the Black Field before she got the Black Field token from the Bloody Arena. She would often come to the Black Field in the future. Having such a mansion was simply too comfortable. However, she still had to find a way to change the servants in this mansion. Although Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid of Master Lu daring to do anything, it wasn't so comfortable to use other people. This was a bad habit that Luo Qingtong developed in her previous life. She generally wouldn't keep people by her side if she didn't have them by her side. It seemed that she had to go to the slave market tomorrow. In addition, she had to buy some people back to the Luo family. In Luo Qingtong's eyes, the Luo family's strength was not enough. After she finished with her business here, She went back to help the Luo family's strength. Especially the old man. Couldn't break through. Luo Qingtong knew that he had accumulated enough strength. It was just that in terms of comprehension, he was still lacking that final step. She was going to stay here for a while to collect some elixirs to refine a congealing pill for the old man. Refining elixirs and refining elixirs were two different things. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was going to collect more elixirs to avoid any mishaps. While thinking, she stretched her body, comfortably half lying on the edge of the white jade pool, soaking in the warm pool water. She twirled the fruits on the plate beside the pool and tasted them carefully. Suddenly, her eyes narrowed. In the next second, her body flew up with a pool of water vapor. A muslin dress appeared in an instant, wrapping around her exquisite body. His black cloak fluttered in the air in an instant. It completely enveloped her body. Who? Luo Qingtong lowered her voice and shouted. Outside the room, there was a guard that she set up using her previous life's unique method. At this moment, his vigilance was suddenly triggered by someone. Swish! Chapter 106. Yi Qianxian stared at the person in front of him, whose body was still covered in water vapor. The black cloak completely covered Luo Qingtong's figure. Not even a strand of her hair could be seen. Yi Qianxian believed that with his abilities, no one would be able to detect him if he were to appear anywhere. However, it was obvious that the other party had discovered his tracks. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes and sized up Luo Qingtong. When he saw the sinister Rakshasa mask on her face, he became increasingly suspicious that the other party was that woman. As for Luo Qingtong, the moment Yi Qianxian appeared, she was already cursing in her heart. It was because she recognized that the person who had just arrived was the man she had threatened, teased, and even forcibly kissed on the Nine Magi Mountain. Don't ask Luo Qingtong how she could recognize him. She had her eye technique. Although Yi Qianxian was wearing a dark gold mask, he didn't use his powers to cover his face. Luo Qingtong immediately saw through his mask and cursed in her heart. Why was this man everywhere? She actually met him again. Luo Qingtong was depressed. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't reveal her identity, she really wanted to grab this man and ask him if he really had a crush on her. Why is he always around wherever I go? Damn it! Luo Qingtong cursed in her heart. However, she pretended to be angry and questioned him. Who are you? How dare you barge into my room for no reason? Do you have a hobby of peeping on others when they're bathing? Luo Qingtong's voice was old and hoarse. When she suddenly said these words, Bei Qing and the others felt a chill run down their spines. Who would want to peep on an old man bathing? This evil doctor was really old and unscrupulous. Yi Qianxian's expression didn't change at all. After being tricked by Luo Qingtong so many times in the Nine Magi Mountain, he was already somewhat immune to such tricks. He looked at the black-robed man expressionlessly. The other party's voice was indeed that of an old man. However, that woman had always been cunning. Before he could confirm the identity of the person in front of him, Yi Qianxian wouldn't easily believe a single word from her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Yi Qianxian looked at her. With a wave of his hand, he took out the medicine bottle that Master Lu had given him. Did you concoct this medicine? When Luo Qingtong saw the medicine bottle, she immediately knew how the other party. That was Master Lu. Luo Qingtong cursed in her heart. The other party had brought her a lot of trouble. If she had known that the other party was going to give the medicine to this man, she would have poisoned him on the spot and snatched the medicine. I shouldn't have given him the antidote in a moment of happiness. I should have just poisoned him to death. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth angrily. The Shenyuan heart medicine that she had concocted was inspired by this man's holy healing spring. Because it was very useful, she had used it to build her reputation. Who would have known that this man was in the Black Field? Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. That's right. This was indeed concocted by me. Now that things had come to this, Luo Qingtong couldn't deny it. She had already made a name for herself as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Denying it would only increase this man's suspicions. She could only deal with it as it came. What was going on? If she had known that this man was here, she would have run further away and gone to the Black Field of another country. Chapter 107. Thinking of all the things she had done to this man before, Luo Qingtong made up her mind that she couldn't let the other party expose her identity. No matter what, she had to deceive him this time. Did you come to this old man to refine medicine? Unfortunately, this old man only refined medicine based on my mood. This old man's bathroom has been broken into, so my mood is very bad. Please go back. Luo Qingtong flicked her sleeves and wanted to drive him away without saying anything else. She deliberately emphasized the word, this old man, her tone full of arrogance. She hoped that Yi Qianxian would have some sense and quickly scram. However, since Yi Qianxian was suspicious of her, how could he leave just because of these two sentences? He coldly looked at Luo Qingtong and ignored her words to drive him away. He only asked, "Where did you get the prescription for this medicinal liquid?" His gaze was fixed on Luo Qingtong's sinister Luo Sha mask under her black hood. He wanted to see if her eyes behind the mask were blind. However, this mask was specially made for Luo Qingtong, so he couldn't see her eyes and face behind the mask. Yi Qianxian wasn't sure if the other party was the person he was looking for. Prescription? Oh, this old man exchanged it with a little girl. Luo Qingtong knew that the main event was about to start. The other party was obviously suspicious of her, so he asked this question. At this time, it wasn't appropriate for her to say that she didn't know or anything else. Only by giving a mixture of truth and lies could he muddle his way out of this. This old man saved her, so she gave this old man this prescription. This old man saw that this prescription was very effective, so I refined it. What? You have a relationship with that little girl? But even so, it's impossible for you to get the prescription back. This old man obtained it through proper means. Luo Qingtong said half-truthfully. Little girl. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. If the other party was really an old man, then calling that woman a little girl was indeed correct. However, Yi Qianren suddenly took a step forward at this moment. With a swish, he grabbed Luo Qingtong. That palm wind did not have the slightest bit of offensive power, and its target was only the wide black cloak on her body. He wanted to see with his own eyes whether or not the other party was that woman. Holy *T. Luo Qingtong had been paying attention to Yi Qianxian's movements. When she suddenly saw him grab her, she subconsciously wanted to dodge. However, she quickly realized that the other party's target was her cloak. With this man's strength, she definitely couldn't dodge. If she really dodged it, wouldn't she be walking right into a trap? Wouldn't she be telling the other party that she was the woman who had raped him while he was injured on Mount Jiuwu? Holy *T. It was true that if he stuck his head out, he would be stabbed. If he retracted his head, he would also be stabbed. Hiding was equivalent to walking right into a trap. Even if she could dodge this attack, it didn't mean that she could dodge the next one. Luo Qingtong could sense that there were other people outside the room. They were obviously very strong. Obviously, they were this man's subordinates. If her identity was exposed, she definitely wouldn't be able to escape. She would be caught by this man at any moment. However, she didn't dodge. She had just taken a shower and didn't put on any disguise. She didn't wrap her chest and didn't draw any wrinkles on her old skin. Once he lifted her clothes, she would definitely be exposed. Why did this man come at such a good time? Couldn't he wait until she had taken a shower and put on a disguise before coming? What a scam. Seeing that Yi Qianxian's hand was getting closer and closer, Luo Qingtong's mind raced. The next second she gritted her teeth. I'll go all out. Chapter 108. With this step, Yi Qianxian's hand, which was about to reach Luo Qingtong's body, fell to the ground. Swoosh! The man's hand pressed against her abdomen. Yi Qianxian's expression suddenly changed at this moment. This was because he felt that his palm seemed to have pressed against something hard. He looked at the place where his hand was pressing with an ugly expression. The next second, he tried to pull his hand back. But at this moment, a hand suddenly pressed down on the back of his hand through the cloak, pressing down on his hand that was about to retract. You're so annoying. So this is what you like. You should have said so earlier. This old man also likes handsome and imposing men like young master. Luo Qingtong's voice was still as old and hoarse as before. But at this moment, there was a hint of surprise and delicateness in this old and hoarse voice. Bei Qing and the others instantly felt goosebumps all over their bodies. What on earth happened inside? Why did this evil doctor's tone suddenly change? It became so hard to explain in a few words. Just as Bei Qing and the others were rubbing their goosebumps and feeling disgusted by Luo Qingtong's voice and tone, Yi Qianxian's face, which was hidden under the dark gold mask, twitched violently. Luo Qingtong's words were really too disgusting, especially when she used such an old and hoarse voice. With a swoosh, Yi Qianxian pulled his hand back. Luo Qingtong did not let him go and chased after him to grab his hand. Don't! Young master, although this old man has always been the one at the top. But if it's someone like you, this old man is willing to submit to you, Luo Qingtong said delicately. She tried to hold back her laughter as she spoke. Oh my god, this is really too fun. Luo Qingtong felt that the man opposite her was about to explode, but she was not ready to stop. This was not enough to deal with this man. She continued. Come on, young master. Now that this old man has just taken a bath and is naked, let's have some fun. As she spoke, she rubbed herself against Yi Qianxian. At the same time, he placed his hand on the belt of his cloak and was about to untie it. Yi Qianren pursed his lips tightly and the veins on his forehead popped out one by one. Luo Qingtong squinted at him. Seeing that he was not ready to leave, she suddenly pulled on the belt. With a swoosh, the black cloak instantly flew up. At the same time, Yi Qianxian's figure shot out without looking back. All that was left in the air was a voice so cold that it made people tremble in fear. Disgusting. If you're not disgusted, why aren't you leaving? Luo Qingtong rolled her eyes and went forward to pick up the cloak that she had thrown into the air and then dropped to the ground. The young girl's body was exquisite and graceful. She was only wrapped in a thin layer of gauze. Her spring light was boundless and her charm was compelling. Where was the slightest bit of disgusting feeling? Because the gauze was soaked in water, it was still dripping with water. Luo Qingtong's feet were stained with water. The young girl stepped on it barefoot. Her toes were round and smooth, and her nails were like pearls. Coupled with the fierce Rakshasa mask on her face, it was really bewitching to the extreme. If Yi Qianren was a step late or if she turned around to take a look, she would know what she had missed. But unfortunately, he was so disgusted by Luo Qingtong that he left without looking back the moment she lifted the cloak. Chapter 109. Phew! You scared me to death. Luo Qingtong heaved a long sigh of relief after successfully disgusting Yi Qianxian. This man is getting more and more difficult to deal with. She muttered in her heart. Previously at Nine Magi Mountain, she had made a casual gesture of wanting to kiss him and he had been forced to retreat. But just now, he had only left after she took off her cloak. If she had hesitated for even a moment, he would have immediately caught hold of her weakness and exposed her identity. This man had evolved too quickly. What happened to the promised innocence? Luo Qingtong secretly gritted her teeth. However, she had completely forgotten that it was because of her repeated provocations that Yi Qianren's resistance to this kind of method became stronger and stronger. This man held great power and deterred everyone. Before this, he had never met someone as devilishly charming and unrestrained as Luo Qingtong. Who knew that she would have so many tricks up her sleeves? And each time it was different. Luo Qingtong was gloomy for a moment. Then, she thought of Yi Qianxian's expression when he had just left and was instantly delighted. It was too fun. Unfortunately, this trick could only be used once. If she did it again, that man would probably raise his hand and chop her into pieces. Sigh. As she thought about it, she peeled the banana in her hand and ate it. That's right, the hard thing that Yi Qianxian had touched just now was a banana. Luo Qingtong had originally grabbed it in her hand to eat it. In the end, Yi Qianxian had arrived in an instant and she had hurriedly put on her cloak, but this banana had always been in her hand. If not for this banana, her true identity would have definitely been exposed by that man. That was close, that was close. Luo Qingtong patted her chest and finished the banana in a few bites. She threw the peel into the fruit bowl and got up to change her disguise. After being frightened by Yi Qianxian, she was no longer in the mood to take a bath. Who knew if that man would suddenly appear again? Luo Qingtong frowned as she thought. Fortunately, she was quick-witted enough to dispel his suspicions about her identity. The other party should no longer suspect his identity as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. However, if the other party recognized the origin of the medicinal liquid, they might send someone to follow her and find out her identity. She didn't know why this man was so persistent. Just because of that pig? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's face darkened. It's all that stinky pig's fault. At this moment, she was incomparably glad that she had not let the pig out of the 9-story exquisite pagoda to teach it a lesson. Otherwise, no matter how many disguises he had, he would be exposed in an instant. How did that pig provoke that man? Luo Qingtong thought to herself. She set up a few more defenses outside the room that only she could sense. Then, she raised her hand and released Little Pig from the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. How did you get involved with that man? Little Pig was completely black after being released. It was almost roasted into a suckling pig by the flames at the bottom of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. Before it could catch its breath, Luo Qingtong picked it up and interrogated it. It was on the verge of tears. Pff. It opened its mouth and spat out a cloud of black gas. Then it snorted and said with a wailing pig face, "How would I know? He suddenly came and grabbed me from the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance palace. He interrogated me about a bunch of things that I don't know. I said I didn't know, and he wanted to kill me. Of course, I ran away." You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.